Of Grant versus Grant. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Robin.
And yours?
Maria.
How old are you, Robin?
11.
Maria?
9.
This is your dad. That's your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to both of you, because I've read your papers. I'm going to talk to you sort of privately a little bit later. Okay?
Okay.
So what I would like you to do for now is, this is Officer Byrd.
Hello.
He's going to take you into my chambers for a minute to sit down and wait for me, because I want to talk to your mom and dad for a minute.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Miss Grant, would you step up here, please? Mr. and Mrs. Grant, from what I gather from your papers, you were married in 1975.
Correct.
And these are your two girls.
Yes.
You're now divorced.
No.
Depending.
Separated.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And you lived in New York most of your married life, is that right?
Yes. All of our married life was in New York.
When did you separate?
November of 1986.
No, 96.
I'm sorry, 96.
So you were married for 21 years before you separated.
Correct.
And I gather that this separation was not a happy one. They usually are not. But that you left New York, Mrs. Grant. Is
I
that
went
right?
to Hawaii. We resided in Hawaii.
Who resided in Hawaii?
Me and the children.
You left your husband.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you decide to move to Hawaii?
Well, I had family there, and I wanted distance. So
Why did you want distance?
It was a horrible relationship. It became threatening on many levels, and I thought the further, the better.
How did you feel as if that impacted on the children?
It had to be negative and positive. It was positive because it took them out of a very harmful situation.
How harmful, Mrs. Grant?
Very harmful.
Was it a physically abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah.
You say, oh yeah, you say that very mildly.
Yeah, I can say that now because I'm not in danger anymore. Yes, it was.
Was any of this violence in front of the children?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
No, it's not true.
Well, if I asked your girls whether they ever saw you being physically abusive towards your wife, what do you think they would say?
They would say no.
Okay. Did you get permission from the court to leave the jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah.
I gave permission for the children to
The
leave
courts
with
gave.
her. No, it was my permission that did it.
Why, Mr. Grant, did you give permission for your wife to go so many thousands of miles away with your children?
For my children to go through this, I couldn't let them go through any more court litigation, so it was me that said, let her have full custody and let the children be with her.
Do you have other children, Mr. Grant?
No.
The reason that I'm asking to speak to you first before I speak to the girls is the girls want their things back. That's what this lawsuit is about. I don't know exactly what things they want, and I assume they're going to tell me. But it's always a very sad thing when children are brought into a domestic situation between their parents. There's a saying that always sticks in my mind, Mrs. Grant and Mr. Grant, and that is, you're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other when you separate. Children usually need two parents.
They should do.
If they've estranged themselves for whatever reason, either because one parent encourages it or not, they usually grow up eventually resenting the parent that caused the estrangement, and that could be either one of you. So, Mrs. Grant, I'm going to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Let us assume that it was a miserable relationship with your husband. Mm-hmm. You think it's a good idea that your children should have negative feelings about him?
They're free to have whatever feelings they want to.
Well, you're the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant. So really children are pretty pliable, you know, and they take their lead from whoever is taking care of them.
No, I'm not going to push the children either way. If they have negative feelings or negative thoughts, they can vent those. If they don't, they don't.
Okay. Well, what things do your daughters want from their father?
What they really want are the things from their bedroom, their baby pictures, videos, stamp collections, telescopes, microscopes, things of that nature.
Well, baby pictures and things, he says he wants to keep because he likes to have them. And I can understand that. You can make copies of those and send them to the girls, right?
Yes.
That's an easy. The other things are just things, microscope, stamp collection, those things. You have no problem with returning those to the girls, do you?
No, I have no problem.
But it's the pictures and the videos.
It's the pictures and the videos.
And that's also, in this age of technology, you can make
Also
copies,
duplicate.
keep one for yourself, and then see that the girls get their pictures and stuff so that they also can look at times when they were little and maybe you were all a family and living happily together. All right, I would like to speak to your children. So why don't the two of you have a seat?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he
He's
loves you.
not.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant is suing her ex-husband on behalf of their two children, Marie and Robin, because he won't return their belongings. Colden says he's being prohibited from seeing his children.
Hello, gorgeous girls.
Hello.
I understand you two are very bright. First of all, you're very tall
Yeah.
and very lovely.
Thank you.
So you know who I am, and I want to find out a little bit more about you. I've just had a talk with your mom and your dad. And it's always sad when parents get a divorce, right?
Depending, I don't think it's that sad because they were arguing and everything. So it's not sad that they're not arguing anymore.
To me, it was just about happy.
It's about happy. Why is that?
No more
I don't have to
arguing.
go through a bunch of arguing and screaming and stuff like that.
So there was a lot of that in your house. But my sense is that your mother loves you and your father loves you. You're their only children. What things do you want your dad to give you back?
Well, I want my baby pictures.
Okay, let me tell you what your dad said about your pictures and the videos and stuff. Your dad's going to make copies of all the things because he would like to have them too, to see his children. You're his two children. He doesn't have any other kids. He loves you. And then you have a stamp collection.
Yeah.
Whose stamp collection?
Both of ours.
And he's going to send that back to you.
That's good.
And the telescope, is that what you want?
Oh, yeah.
And your dad said he was going to send that back to you.
That's good.
Okay? So let's take care of that.
And our coin collection.
And your coin collection. Very valuable coin collection?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my mom traveled like all over the world, and she got different like kinds of dollars from different places and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, is it your mom's coin collection or yours?
And she gave it to us.
Us.
Well, let me tell you this. It's really your mom's coin collection, if she was collecting it. There are certain things that are yours. There are certain things that may be a problem between your mother and your father. I don't want to get involved with that. And I don't think you ought to get involved with that. All right, so let's finish that. This is over. So let's talk honestly, the two of us, the three of us, two of you and one of me. You live very far away from your father.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you two girls ever witness any time when either of your parents put their hands on each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Well, once my dad tried twisting my mom's arm and stuff, so I stopped it.
Yes. What else?
Well, sometimes they just get tussling matches sometimes. Tussling matches sometimes.
The two of them.
Yeah. And Colton's always trying to like talk over her and
Yeah.
and stuff like you're brainwashing them and stuff like that.
That happens. You know your mom loves you.
Yeah.
So does your father. I think you know that. I'm not so sure that you understand that. He really loves you. You question that?
Yeah.
He loves you.
Well, my true feelings are that I don't really want to be around him anymore.
Why?
The way he acts.
Like what? You have to tell me.
Okay. The way he acts is like ignorant.
How?
I can't explain it.
Can that say something to you? You know, the truth of the matter is, ladies, just amongst us three ladies, sometimes guys don't always do the right thing just because they're older. Sometimes parents don't do the right thing. Mothers or fathers, even because they're parents. And you two gals are very smart. So in addition to being smart, you should be tolerant. Just because you're a parent doesn't make you perfect. Your father has disappointed you, right? You're supposed to not necessarily accept it and not necessarily understand it, but just say, he's my father. And I know he's made mistakes, but I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he
He's
loves
not. You're telling.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No,
No.
because it's a lie.
No, it's not. He loves you. He really loves you. Would you spend a little time with him today?
No.
No, I've been with him for 8 years, and that's enough for me.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing. They're very angry with you, sir. Your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant claims her ex-husband, Colden Grant, won't return their children's possessions. Colden says since Robin won't let him see his kids, he wants to keep the items.
Why don't you step back up, please?
May I ask her to view these, please?
Ms. Grant,
Your Honor?
I am not condoning any act of domestic violence that may have occurred in your home. I will tell you from what I heard from the children, there was only one instance that your younger daughter told me about when your husband twisted your arm. While I'm not condoning that, we're not talking about an ongoing pattern of physical violence that the children witnessed. They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing, shoving. They're very angry with you, sir. Your girls are very angry with you. And Mrs. Grant, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions to you. In the short time that I had to speak with your daughters, they are so fixed, although your older daughter clearly is sad about it, at not having contact with their father, that I think it almost would border on the criminal if you did not see to it that your children were engaged in some sort of therapy. Because I believe it is a tremendous mistake for children to be estranged from a non-custodial parent the way these children have been estranged from their father. Terrible mistake. But it's a mistake for girls not to want to receive mail from their father, not to want to communicate with him at all. That says something to me about the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant, because I've seen enough children of separation and divorce where there is a lot more domestic violence that goes on, and those children still want to have contact with their father. These children, for some reason, do not, and they were not able to articulate to me any really valid reason for it. So I must attribute that to things that they've heard at home. I think it's a tremendous mistake. I think in the long run you will be hurting your children and hurting them dramatically if you don't change your attitude with regard to him. He's their father. You picked him. You were married to him for 21 years. You were together for 21 years. You made 2 children. These are the only 2 children that you have. And if he is less of a husband or less of a father than your children would like, that's it. I've tried to explain to them, he still loves them. They have to feel as if he still loves them. They don't feel that way, and they must be getting that from someplace other than him. So I think you're making a big mistake if you don't encourage your children in that direction, and not say to me at age 9 that you're going to let her make up her own mind what she wants to do. Okay?
And I hope that Robin's anger stopped filtering over to the children. It's really her anger that have my children feeling this way.
Well, I don't doubt that, sir, because I've very rarely seen children so fixed with basically what I've heard in the back without the kind of history that would suggest that that they have a good and valid reason for it. The marriage is over, it's over.
Did Maria relate to you that whenever they want to speak to him that I allow them to call? They stopped calling because he kept lying to them?
Miss Grant, what I'm telling you is there's a difference between children asking to call their father and feeling that they are betraying their mother if they're asking to call their father because she's so angry. Just listen to me, Mrs. Grant. You're shaking your head no. I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. I've probably seen 10,000 separations and divorces. They're all not so different. And children feel that if they ask to communicate with the non-custodial parent, when there's so much anger on this side, that in some way they're being disloyal to their mother. So it's not a question of I let them call whenever they want to call. They have to be reinforced constantly with the idea that their father may have shortcomings, but he loves you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Grant, you have promised me, sir, that you will return the children's things to them.
Yes.
That is their telescope, their stamp collection. I don't know about this coin collection that they spoke about. If you find it in your heart to return it to them, that's terrific. They certainly would like to have their pictures back, so you're going to make copies of all of those things and see to it that they get them. Return their things. It's stupid to have their things. Right?
Well, those are the only memories I have. I have no contact.
Okay.
So right now...
Well, but you know, you don't get warm from looking at a telescope, sir.
No.
So you have to return their things. It's important to them. So you can't be angry and also let that flow down to the children. It's a start. I don't know what will happen eventually, but Mrs. Grant, your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father. By the time they're 20, 25 years old, it will be a void for them. And you should be protective of that. I think that you love them.
It's a void now.
Well, then you have to do something about it. You're their mother. You've moved them halfway across the world. So it's your responsibility to shorten that distance in whatever way you can, because they're going to have a void as adults. If they cannot accept the fact that good, bad, shortcomings, he's done things that disappoint them, this is their father. And if they don't feel as if he loves them, they're not going to grow up strong. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. 77 on the calendar in the matter of Wisnen versus Concepcion. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Wisnad, you are a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady came to you because her husband, I suppose that's you.
Yes.
Correct? Was arrested.
She actually, Maria is my sub-agent who actually wrote the bond.
You came to her.
Well, I called her
Because your husband was in jail. What was he arrested for?
for possession of stolen property.
Possession of stolen property is what he was arrested for. He was being held on how much bail?
25.
$25,000.
There's one other charge there, Your Honor. It was PC 273.5, which is domestic violence.
So possession of stolen property and beating up his wife.
Actually, I believe it was his sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Because that's heavy bail. $25,000. Anyway, you charge 10%.
That is correct.
And you agreed to post the bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he could get out of jail, right?
Right.
That was a nice thing for them to do.
It's their job.
Your fee, that's his job, for which he gets what?
For which he gets 10%.
Paid.
Right. Gets paid.
And at the time your wife came in, all she had was $1,300. But they agreed to go ahead and post the bail anyway.
Right.
Correct. And there was an agreement, and what was the agreement about the rest of the bail, sir?
It was a signed promissory note to have the remaining balance of $1,300 paid in full by May 2nd.
And how many days after that?
That was actually 4 days after the bond was posted, and that was a date that was agreed upon by Maria, the agent writing the bail, and Eleanor.
May I see it, please? So, Ms. Concepcion, you signed this promissory note to come in 4 days later and post the rest of the bail.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Did you?
I tried. That I didn't. No.
You didn't?
No.
And you, sir, got out of jail.
Yes.
Did you go in and post the money?
No, I didn't. I told her, directly, I told her, I said, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to have that money for you. Now, is there a way that we can make arrangements for the balance? Payments such as, $200 a month.
Just a second. These aren't your relatives. They're in business.
But, Your Honor, she told me that if I had any problems making the payments, she could make arrangements.
Correct. But when I had also spoken to her and we did the promissory note, I told her to tell me the date that she can come up with this money. So I gave her an option to either pay it off in full or do payment. And she told me that she could come up with the money by May 2nd, which was a couple days later.
Okay. Now listen. The most important thing for you was to get your husband out of jail.
Yes.
You signed this piece of paper that promised that you would make the payment to the bail bondsman, who stands to lose all the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just this little bit of money, but $25,000.
That is correct.
Because you are ensuring that he's going to show up and do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his business.
Okay.
So you got what you needed momentarily, which was to get out of jail. You promised whatever you had to promise, and then you didn't pay it. How many times have you been arrested? Can't try to count on one hand.
No.
How many
I haven't been
times?
arrested that many times.
So you know the drill.
Not really.
Are you sure you do? How old are you?
37.
You've been arrested more than 3 times, sir? Make sure you tell me the truth.
Actually about 3 times.
Yeah, the money issue was actually secondary on...
I know.
Okay.
Because your lawsuit says that he didn't show up
To sign the paperwork, that is correct.
to sign the paperwork, and he was supposed to.
There's also
That's
another.
this other form. that
Can I see that, please?
His wife signed. Sorry, okay.
Now, you signed this paper agreeing that you would produce your husband in their office within 48 hours of his release to sign the remainder of the paperwork. Right?
Right. But she told me, because I didn't have the money, she told me not to go in.
Did you ever tell her not to come in?
No.
Baloney! Baloney! She never told you not to bring him in to sign the rest of the paperwork? Paperwork
that's
is
what happened.
what he has to have.
When I spoke to her, why wouldn't she tell me this? She told me straight
Just a second, sir. Were you told by your wife that you had to go in within 2 days to sign some paperwork?
No.
Baloney. Baloney. You
I
know,
don't think
there's a
so.
certain common sense, sir. You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
She told me about taking a picture, yes, okay. But
Right.
like I said, I
Just a
spoke
second.
to this woman
Yeah.
personally.
Your wife told you that you had to go in and sign some paperwork and have your picture taken. So the answer is yes. Right?
Picture taking, yes.
Did you go?
Did we don't know?
No, because we didn't have the money.
This says when you're released within 48 hours, you have to come to his office. Is that what it says?
Correct.
It is in English. Clear as a bell. So don't tell me about going to court the next day.
I understand that, but she told us not to come in because
There was
we're
a lot
making
of
a trip
things
for
said
nothing.
verbally.
I would call her and she would tell me she would come in the next day. There was no one, she never ever came in. I kept calling, telling me that her check or whatever, or for whatever which reasons, she didn't have the money. And I told her, okay, if you don't have the money, come in and we can make payment
You
arrangements.
told me
but
you were
he
gonna
needs
arrest
to
me.
Come in.
Hey,
If the paper on the agreement said, on that agreement that we just handed to you, said if he didn't come in within 48 hours, then we could arrest him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion owes him bail money. When Gene went to collect, Frank says there was an altercation over a gun.
tell me what happened when you went to arrest him.
Here we go.
There were 2 times. The first night was on a Wednesday, the 14th, I believe. I went to the mother-in-law's house, which was listed as his residential address. I went there, I saw Eleanor, and I saw his mother-in-law, and a number of other people there. I went through the house, he wasn't there. Gave Eleanor and her mother my business cards with instructions to have Frank call me when he came back in.
You're a liar, man.
Shh. Hey, I want you to be quiet, sir. Don't talk to him. You're going to have a chance to speak. How much after you posted the bail for him did you go to effectuate the arrest?
About 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Okay. And in that 2.5 to 3 weeks' time, had he come in to make any payment whatsoever?
No, ma'am. As a matter of
Had
fact,
his wife come in to make any payment whatsoever?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So you went to arrest him. And tell me what happened when you got there.
Got to the house. We were watching the house. Maria was the driver. I was going to effect the arrest. I had Maria move the car. I was standing in the shadow next to the side of the house when Maria pulled to the light to square the block and come back on a different location. Frank's, as I find out later, it was Frank's younger brother comes out, sees her pull away, yells something out. Frank goes running across the street, out to the front door, across the street to his parked car. That is correct. I yelled out his name. I yelled his name again and ordered him to stop. He turned around, looked over his shoulder at me, ran back towards the house. I stopped him in the driveway, side of the house on the side driveway. We rolled to the ground. As we were rolling, I felt his hand go for my gun. I clamped his hand. At that point, I basically gave up on the encounter. My whole goal, my whole purpose in life at that point was to hold the gun in the holster, not allow the gun to get out. I had his left hand clamped to my gun and my gun pressed down in the holster. He was able to straddle my body, get his right hand around my throat.
Tell the truth now.
I'm going to throw you out of the courtroom. Take your hands out of your pockets and be quiet. You're going to have your opportunity, sir, to tell me your version of the story. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Okay, continue.
He's got his hand on my throat and his other hand on my gun. I put my hand up to his head. I can still feel the ridge of his eye socket under my thumb with the intention of rolling my thumb in. I rolled my hand down across his face to rock his head back and force him off of me. When my hand came down across his face, he clamped down on my left index finger. Still have a scar on each side. He clamped down. I felt his jaw rake across it. His brother then got up to my right side. I felt his brother pry at my hand on the gun, and either I hit him with my elbow or I kneed him with my knee.
Must be his auntie.
My hand got free at that point.
Do me a favor. Would you stand behind him? Because I want to get this case over with, so I don't want to throw him out of the courtroom. But maybe your presence there, Officer Byrd, will remind him to keep his mouth shut until it's his turn.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
When he yelled out, I was able to get my hand free. I pried his hand off my throat. At that point, I guess he felt he was losing control. He tried to stand up. Because I was holding both of his hands, he pulled me up as well. His brother put up both his hands on my chest and pushed me back to the ground, struck me trying to hit my groin, missing. Frank got up, took 2 or 3 steps. I either pushed or punched his brother again to get him off of me. Frank took a step back and yelled, "Don't hit my brother." I was able to get up. Frank ran to his car across the street. Maria was parked in the middle of the street on the phone with the local police department. She witnessed the whole thing. Frank got away that night, and then I went straight from there. Police officer responded about 10 or 15 minutes later, took a report, and I went directly to the emergency room to get medical care for my finger.
So the remainder of your lawsuit is for the bite?
The bite, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, first of all, we talked on the phone, and this is after 2 weeks. We spoke on the phone. I have not yet even spoke to this man. I spoke to her, and her and my wife were talking. We agreed to come down to their office at that evening. The call was about 4 o'clock. We agreed to be there about 8 o'clock. I left the house. I told my wife, I said, we'll go down there, meet me down there at 8 o'clock. I have to go to my father's and run some errands, okay, for my father. Okay, this was at my father's place. Okay, he came, I went outside. I was leaving after I ran the errands for my father, okay. This was nighttime already, it was dark. I go to my car, it was parked across the street, okay. As I'm going across the street, it's dark too, there's not many lights out there. Now, he's hiding behind a bush, okay. All of a sudden, I'm walking across the street, I'm in the middle of the street, and somebody says, "Hold it. You move it, I'll shoot." He got his .357 out, pointing right at me, okay. And I look at him, I don't know who he is. He never identified himself at all, okay. I don't know who the heck, he could be trying to rob me, you know. I run, I take off. As I'm running back towards my place, okay, the garage, I turn around, because he's right behind me, I turn around and smack him one. Okay, then I pick him up and I throw him, body slam him on my garage. Okay, at this point, he's going for his gun again. Now, when he goes for his gun, I put my elbow up in his throat, okay, and I'm grabbing for the gun, because I'm going to take it from him before he shoots me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're wrong about that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in 1947.
You're wrong again in 1998.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion tried to jump bail. When he tried to collect, an altercation ensued.
Just tell me your version of what happened that day.
This man's going for his gun like it was the thing to do, like he's some super cop or something. You ain't about nothing, though. But I'm going to tell you, okay, because I'm going for his gun. I'm going for his gun, all right? And this time he's got, like he said, he's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger, all right? Then I pull the gun out from his holster and toss it in the bush. Now, I don't want some accident to happen because this guy's acting like a fool out. Would just pull out his gun, you know, like he thinks he can do this. I haven't jumped bail. I haven't missed my court date. I haven't even had my court date yet. And he's coming at me with a gun?
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You were running errands for your father, and you were supposed to be at his office. Shut! Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
You were supposed to be at his office at 8 o'clock. That was the plan. That's what you told me, correct?
Right, correct.
Did you go to his office at 8 o'clock? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Right. Because when he came to your house, it was after 8 o'clock, correct?
No, it was before 8
What
o'clock.
time?
Before.
What time?
7:30, 20 till.
But he had came to
Just
the
a
house
second.
before
Just
me.
a second. Hey.
I was there.
Just answer my... Listen
was
to me.
there.
Listen to me. Truth of the matter is the two of you had absolutely no intention of going to his office
Yes,
at
I
8 o'clock.
did. I was going.
Yeah,
It only
you-
takes 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, baloney.
They had no intentions of meeting us at their office.
It was all set up.
Listen to me. It may have been a setup, but you had no intention of going there, paying the money, and having your picture taken, and filling out the rest of the
paying
paper.
money. It wasn't about paying money.
It's
It
about
was
making
about
a new
signing
step.
a contract to pay $200 a month.
Right.
All right.
For the rebalance.
Okay,
of the pay.
let's finish up that. And let me get to the next thing that's troubling me about your version of this story, sir. When you first started to tell me the story, you told me he was hiding in the bushes, which means that you saw him hiding in the bushes.
No.
And, well, then how did you know he was hiding in the bushes?
Because I crossed the street and he said, "Hold it." move and I'll shoot. That's when I looked and he was hiding in the bushes.
Oh, I see. So you saw him hiding in the bushes. What did you say no for? You saw him hiding in the bushes, right?
Okay.
Then you just went through a whole story about where does he come off taking out his gun. It's only a bail and I hadn't missed my court date. Isn't that what you just told me?
That's correct.
Right. Just a minute. But then at the beginning of the story that you were telling me you thought he was a robber. There to rob you. How could he be a robber and a bail bondsman at the same time?
He never identified himself. I told you. You're not listening to me.
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
No, I told you he did not identify himself. He never had.
You said to me, where does he come off pulling a gun, a .357 Magnum on me, as a bail bondsman?
I'm speaking after the fact already, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, I've heard both stories. A, you owe him the money for the bail, because that's what you promised, madam, to pay him. That's the written... Stand closer to him.
Stand as close as you want, brother.
That's what you promised. That's what you agreed. You agreed to come in and pay $1,200. Right?
Right.
So that's what you owe him. And what I am finding, based upon common sense is that he got out of jail and he said, let him come find me.
No, you're wrong.
Sure.
You're wrong
Didn't
about
come
that.
in. I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong
But
again
since
in
1947, I didn't. You are suing, sir, for assault. It's
Yes,
clear
sir.
to me from his own version of what happened that he knew exactly who you were when you stopped him, that he was avoiding you, that the family was avoiding you, and that you were effectuating a lawful arrest in order to secure your bail, because it was now 2.5 to 3 weeks, and the person for whom you had posted bail failed to come in to complete the necessary paperwork and failed to keep that part of the agreement that provided for the remainder of the 10% of the bail. So you had an absolute right to go in and effectuate an arrest under the laws in this jurisdiction, and you were assaulted. And I believe that he knew who you were, that what he should have done was stop immediately. He did not do that.
Do you believe he identified himself?
Based upon his own statement.
Do you believe he identified himself?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You answer my questions. Based upon his own statement, he turned around and struck you before you struck him. He said that, not you. He says he turned around and assaulted you. So I'm granting you your judgment for $3,000. That's all.
Judge, this is case number 283 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus McDermott.
Thank you, sir.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Johnson, according to your complaint, sir, you and the defendant were dating briefly. She had an accident in the car she was driving. Is the car your car?
It was my parents' car.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Mazda 626.
New?
No, it was an 83.
You got into an accident with the car. According to you, Mr. Johnson, the defendant came to you and she was very upset.
Yep, scared of her dad's reaction, didn't know what she'd do. And I said, I know someone who can fix her car. Brought it over there and got it fixed. And while she said that she didn't have the money, I said, I could let you borrow the money. She said, sure, that'd be great. But at first she denied it. She's like, no, don't do that for me. Please don't do that. I was like, all right, well, just if you need the money, and when you start your job, you can start paying me back. She's like, all right, because she was scared of what her dad was going to do. Got her car fixed. 2 days later after that, she split on me in so many words, like our relationship ended. And for about 1.5 years, I tried getting in contact with her maybe like 10 times in a total of 1.5 years, and I never got a response back to her.
Mr. Johnson, let's go back a little bit because you sort of fluffed over this oral contract that you had with her that you're suing on, sir. She came to your house and she said she was very upset.
Well, she was crying and stuff. She didn't
So
know what she
far,
was
he's
going to do.
correct.
She did not know what she was going to do.
So far, he's correct.
He's correct to the point where he just said that he said he'd lend me the money, and he never said that. He told me that he had a friend that owed him favors and that he would get it fixed. And I said...
Yeah, for cheaper.
Just
no, you never
don't
said
interrupt.
that.
Go ahead.
And so I was like, I was really scared. I was in shock. I just got in an accident. And I said, no, because I don't have money to get it fixed. I'm just going to have to tell my dad. And then he didn't want me to get in trouble. So he said, no, no, we'll get it fixed. So we took it to the shop, got it fixed.
When you took it to the shop, Was there any discussion about $600?
Not until he was going to get it fixed, and then the guy said it'll be $600.
So there was discussion about
Yes.
$600.
Yes.
So,
and then Dino, I looked at Dino, and he said, no, they're going to take care of it, because he said the guy owed him a lot of favors.
That's not true.
But then I did not. It didn't hit me until we were on our way home, and I asked him who's going to pay for it, and he said I will, and I said no, I don't want you to pay for it. Take it out of the shop, and he didn't. And
so you said to him, take it out of the shop?
Yeah, I asked him to call them.
And he said what?
He said, no, don't worry about it. They'll take care of it.
So you didn't say to him, take me right back to the shop and let's get it out of the shop?
I asked him to. I
But
said,
he
take
didn't.
me over there or call them, and he didn't.
But then there came a time when you went back and picked up this car. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
A fixed car?
Yes.
Did you pay for the car, sir?
Yes, I did. $600. She was there.
Let me see proof of that.
She told me that when she was able to get a job, she would pay me back. I said, little payments are fine, whenever. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna pay you back, even when we were like breaking up or whatever we had together.
Who signed for this?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken many cars to Miguel.
Miguel, that's the name of this person?
Mm-hmm, Miguel's Auto Body Shop.
Good, let me make a call.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Miguel? Miguel, this is Judge Judy Sheindlin. Do you know who I am? Well, I'm a judge who is hearing a case that has something to do with your auto body shop. And I have a couple of questions to ask you. Do you have a moment for me? Good. Do you know someone by the name of Dino Johnson? Yes. He says he's brought many customers to your shop. And this has to do with a car that was brought to you, a 1983 Mazda in 1995. He says he came in with a young woman who had been in an accident with her car. Yes? Well, could you tell me what you remember about that, sir? Right, so 2 or 3 weeks ago he came in and he asked you for a bill. Right, because I'm looking at this bill and it doesn't look as if it's a couple of years old. It looks like it's a relatively new bill. And it says here, sir, there's something that's circled and it said that you were paid in cash. So how did you know it was $600? Is not an answer, Miguel. Okay, Miguel, you've been very cooperative. Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I said, well, I don't think my husband would have murdered his daughter. And I said, I would have been able to handle that.
And later today.
You know, you got to remember what you write down, Mr. Barth.
Gotcha.
Always comes back to bite you in the behind.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Johnson is suing his former girlfriend, Nicole McDermott, because he gave her money to fix her car and she never repaid him. Nicole says Dean is angry because she broke up with him and started dating his friend.
Now, Mr. Johnson, one of the reasons I went to make a phone call is this didn't look like something you had had around for 2.5 years.
Mm.
So Miguel seemed to know all about this lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
I figured maybe he has no business because 2.5 years go by. Boy, he remembered everything, like she was your girlfriend and then broke up with you, and he knew the whole story. That led me to believe that you had been there more recently.
Yeah, because my mechanic is right next door.
No, because you needed a new bill.
Yeah, and I got a new bill, and she was there when I paid for it.
Now, just a second. You got a new
Just telling
bill. You got a new bill. This he gave you a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
This was not the original bill.
Mm-hmm.
He has no invoice with regard to it because I asked him how come. He remembered that it was $600. He said, well, he remembers that it was $600. He had no invoice because he wrote paid cash, which means that he didn't write it down anywhere else.
Exactly.
Well, I have no doubt that $600 was in fact paid because according to Miguel, who I believe, who was very honest with me on the phone, he said that the original estimate was much more, about $850, but because he was referred by a friend and had done a lot of work there, he said he would do it for less. I have another couple of questions for you, Miss McDermott. You say you rear-ended this car and you had hundreds of dollars worth of damage on your car.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the other car?
The other car, it was a Ford Explorer. There was only a small scratch, and it was a rental car, so they didn't care.
So he didn't care?
No, so nothing happened to it.
Did you ultimately tell your father about this?
Yes, I did.
When?
I told him approximately, he found out, and then I told him about 2 months after it happened.
Are you working?
Yes.
You have to pay for this. It's reasonable, right? He was being a nice guy.
See, he told me I didn't have to worry about paying him back. And he even told my mother that on the telephone, that I don't have to worry about it. And she asked him, what happens if she breaks up with you? And
let me, just don't tell me, let her tell me. You're her mother.
Yes.
Your last name is?
McDermott.
Yes.
I learned about the accident approximately 2 days after the accident. The car was already in the shop. It was almost repaired, and they were ready to pick it up. I had spoke to Dino about it. I said, Dino, we don't have the money to pay you for the car. My husband, one of the reasons why we hadn't told my husband, he had had 7 surgeries in the last 4 years. He was having a very hard time with his health, and I didn't want to tell him. I kept things from him because I didn't want to disturb his health anymore.
Good idea.
But I told Dino, I said, Dino, why did you fix her car? I says, why didn't you call me? I told Nikki, why didn't you call me? I'm your parent. It's up to me to decide what's going to happen. He says, well, she couldn't have driven it that way and her father would have gotten really mad. I says, well, he said her father would have killed her. I says, well, I don't think my husband would have murdered his daughter. And I said, I would have been able to handle that. I said, she would have either, one, had to have driven the car like it was, if it was drivable. I never saw it. I said, or found alternate transportation.
Mm-hmm.
He says, don't worry about it. She doesn't have to pay me back. And it was like a done
She
deal.
didn't have to pay me back right away.
It wasn't,
as soon as she got a job, because she wasn't working at the time. I said, even $20, $10 here and
Miss
there, that'd be
McDermott,
fine.
listen to me. You have to teach your daughter responsibility. How old is she?
She'll be 20.
And so this happened 2.5 years ago, so she wasn't quite 18, correct?
Right.
Well, then you have to teach her responsibility. I can understand that. 17 years old, still a baby, they do a lot of stupid things. But she was in an accident with the car. And if you're in an accident, you have to bear responsibility for taking care of it. I can understand her boyfriend at that time saying, listen, don't worry about it, you're not working, I don't want you to get in trouble with your father, I will help you out. But then within a relatively short period of time, they weren't a couple anymore. Don't you think it's the responsible thing for your daughter to do? To pay her debts? Don't you think so? Sure it is. Now, but you have another problem, Mr. Johnson.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
My grandmother used to say, beauty fades, dumb is forever.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Johnson says his former girlfriend, Nicole McDermott, borrowed money to fix her car and never paid him back. Nicole claims the money was a gift.
You have another problem, Mr. Johnson. How old are you, sir?
21.
So you were over 18 when you made this arrangement with Miss McDermott.
Yes.
And she was under 18.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
I believe so. I wasn't exactly sure of her age.
How old were you?
I think she just turned 18.
I just turned 18.
You did just turn 18. Are you lucky? Because if she were under 18, she couldn't make a contract with you, even a verbal one. You understand that?
I do now.
She can't be bound by it. She can't be sued on it. But if it was over 18, then she has reached her majority. Miss McDermott, you have to take care of your bills. You drive a car, there are expenses. You have an accident, you have to pay for them.
That's why I didn't want him to fix my car.
But he fixed it, madam. And you're over 18, and you were sitting in the car, and nobody said you had to leave the car there. It was drivable. You could have said, forget it. I don't have the money. I'm going to deal with my father. You didn't do that. Don't take advantage of a situation. How much after this did you two break up?
Like,
it was about a week.
About a week?
Maybe even less than that.
That's a very expensive week.
He didn't even want the money back.
All right.
Until...
Miss McDermott, you can't get along on your good looks forever, madam. You know? After a while, the looks go. And you have other things that you have to rely on, and that is your good name and integrity and responsibility and all those good things. Now, if you two had ended up an item, you got married and whatever, if he came to me 20 years later and said to me, she owes me $600 for the car, I would have shown him the door. But he did this because he cared for you. So, you're supposed to do the right thing. And the right thing is to pay him back his money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right.
And now the next case.
Parties on Daly versus Barth. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Christina Daly says she loaned her ex-boyfriend, Matthew Barth, money to buy a truck, which he never repaid. Matthew claims he sold the truck and gave Christina the money, making them even.
A long time ago,
Yes.
he was your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And these papers say that while he was your boyfriend, he needed a truck,
Yes.
but he had no money.
That's correct.
So he asked you for the money, and you gave him how much?
I wrote him a check for $4,000.
And you don't seem to deny that, sir.
No, the only part that I would deny is that she offered me the money. But
That's not correct.
Just a second. Let's not fight back and forth. $4,000 was the amount.
yes,
And this happened about 4 years ago. Is that right?
I wrote the check on July 19th of 1993.
And then your relationship was over.
yes,
That was in 94.
But you had the truck.
yes, I did.
And you have, and you've never, according to her, you've never paid her back the $4,000.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Barth, I read your answer very carefully, sir. And you seem to have a whole menu of defenses to this action.
Yes,
A whole menu. So let me see if I've got them all. Because you know I'm getting old, so I may forget one or two. First, you say it was a gift and not a loan because she offered you the money. Correct?
correct.
Then you say, I think I paid her back.
I did pay her back a portion of the money.
Then you
incorrect.
say the statute of limitations ran.
That is a defense, Your Honor.
Your second defense belies the first defense, because if you say you paid her back the money, or at least a portion of it, that would suggest to me that you acknowledge that there was in fact a loan.
Yes,
So we want to take that first defense that it was a gift and sort of shove it, right?
okay, well, gift and then offering the money, but under terms, I would probably believe that I would have to pay her back the money, so as a gift is something you don't pay back.
Did you understand that?
So I guess.
Let's do this again very slowly, Mr. Barth. Why don't you
Absolutely.
try again with me in English?
Okay, it was a loan, and I accepted the loan.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Now, $4,000. And you say you paid her back.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, when
Look
at the
here.
termination of the relationship,
Yes.
I had to sell the truck
Why is that?
because in order for me to get any kind of ground to pay her back, I have to come up with some money to pay her back.
Yeah.
So I sold the truck. And I paid her back what I received for the truck.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Just a second. So you say that when you broke up, in order to be able to pay her back for this loan, which you felt obligated to do, you sold the truck and gave her back the money.
Yes.
How much did you give her back?
$2,500.
And that was the reason. Is that correct?
Yes.
Uh-huh. You know, you got to remember what you write down, Mr. Barth.
Gotcha.
Always comes back to bite you in the behind. All right? I sold the truck shortly thereafter. The intent was to dissolve anything that would link us together.
Mm-hmm.
That smacks more of an emotional reason for selling this truck than an obligation. So, let us assume for the moment, sir, let us assume for the moment that I believed you, which I don't. Unless you have proof, of course, of the check that you gave her.
No.
Oh, of course not.
Don't.
What happened to the other $1,500?
$1,500, the truck wasn't worth what it was originally worth. So
Well,
that's
since
why-
when did she become a partner in your misfortune? You bought the truck for $4,000. If you acknowledge that you made a loan, $4,000, and you sold it for $2,500, she didn't become a partner in your loss. Oh, now, did you ask him for this money?
Yes, I did. On several occasions, I've asked him for the money. And how he would respond to me was, I would love to pay you the money back, but I do not have the money. And I believed Matt because we were together for 2.5 years and Matt never had any money. And so I believed him when he told me that, and I trusted him when he told me.
But he's got a great smile.
He's very charming. Yes, he won me over too. And
No, don't add two. He didn't win me over, Miss Daly. Miss Daly, didn't win me over, madam.
Okay, well, you're smarter than I.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Barth,
Yes, Your Honor.
you owe her $4,000. And I leave you with this one thought. You're not going to be gorgeous forever, sir. Eventually, you're going to have to rely on people respecting you, trusting you, feeling as if you're reliable and responsible, because there are a lot of pretty faces out there. Right? My grandmother used to say, beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. Come forward, please.
Joe Carlin is suing his ex-wife, Mary Stepp, because she failed to honor their agreement to pay for half of their daughter's karate lessons.
Order. All rise. Order in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Carlin versus Stepp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Carlin, you and the defendant have been divorced for many years.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you shared custody for most of those years of your now 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounded as if everything was going along reasonably well, right? Until you gave your consent while your daughter was with you to have her lip pierced.
Yes.
A decision which I gather, reading between the lines, you regret a little bit.
Slightly.
And as a result of that, Mr. Carlin, I get the sense you filed this lawsuit, which alleges that your former wife had agreed to pay for half of your daughter's karate lessons.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And she became rather expert in karate. She took karate for several years. Your former wife had not paid for half.
That's correct.
Something that I don't think bothered you too much until the lip piercing.
No, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, this whole thing didn't blow up until the lip piercing. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then something happened that, as far as I'm concerned, was tragic, but we'll get to that in a moment. So why don't you tell me when this agreement was made with your former wife?
About 3 years ago, Sarah was shopping around. She was interested in taking karate. So she looked at one school, and she looked at another one, and she liked the second one. It wasn't as expensive as the other one, and as a matter of fact, it was a little bit cheaper, but they wanted the money up front, basically over a 10-month to a year period. It came out to a little over $4,100. I talked to my wife, Teresa, and she said, we cannot afford this. I said that Sarah's mother would agree to split it with me. I picked up the phone, I called her, I laid this out to her, exactly how they wanted. I didn't expect the money right up front from her, but she said that she would split the cost of the school. 2.5 years later, 3 years later, I've yet to get a dime.
Do you remember having the conversation with him
No,
when your
Your
daughter
Honor.
started school?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
He says that he did discuss with you when she first started karate school, make sure you tell me the truth, that he wanted you to pay for half because he couldn't assume the entire burden of the classes. Now, are you telling me that he's lying?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. That's not true. I never saw one document from the karate school. He never approached me about paying half the money. We split tokens. He would pay tokens 1 week, I would pay tokens for school. The karate lesson money was never brought up.
Okay. Now, something happened with your daughter recently, I assume, when she came to you and said she wanted to have her lip pierced. Tell me about that conversation.
Well, for 2 years, she had wanted to get something pierced. She has about 3 holes in her ear, and I was like, no more, no more. And when she was 16, we had discussions. She asked and asked and asked, and finally I broke down.
Did you discuss it with her father?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
It really wouldn't have been a big deal.
All right, Mr. Carlin.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you saw your daughter. I must tell you, I am sympathetic with you as a parent. You see your gorgeous daughter, and she's got this ridiculous thing in her face, and you got really angry.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
Well, Sarah and I had discussions prior to this that she was getting a little tired of the shared custody arrangement. So I picked her up and saw the stud, and I couldn't believe it. I took her down the next day to the place where she had it put in, and I let them know that she was only 16. I want this thing out now. And she refused to come in. So I took her back to her mother's house, and I said, you're tired of this shared custody arrangement? I said, I can't have this, either. And that was it. She's been with her mother since July 15th.
Mr. Carlin, you're going to answer me very honestly, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think you've been a good father. I think you've been an involved father, good parent. Do you believe, Mr. Carlin, that your reaction to your daughter's piercing was appropriate?
At the time, yes.
Now, at the time, yes, because you're a human being and you have, the juices started to flow. In retrospect.
No, I think I could have handled it a little bit differently, but like I said, even Sarah agreed that she shouldn't have gotten this thing, and she even went down with me to the place where she got it pierced at to get it out. But when we got there, she made a stance that I'm not going to do it, Dad. And I said, well, then we just can't have this shared custody arrangement anymore.
Excuse me, Your Honor. She didn't want to go down to the piercing place. He made her go down, and when she wouldn't get it out, he dropped her off at the corner of my street and said, get out. In no uncertain terms. They had no discussion over the shared custody thing outlasting itself. The term was get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears.
And later today.
Never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce.
They've never got along. He can't stand her.
That's very understandable.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Carlin says his ex-wife Mary Stepp agreed to pay for half of their daughter's karate lessons. Mary claims they never had such an agreement, and Joe is angry because she allowed their daughter to get her lip pierced.
A judge is not a computer. A judge is a human being, and we bring to our job all of our history, all of our own personal stories. So I'm going to share one with you, all right? I have 5 kids, and they're all older now. When one of my children started college, and this was 14, 15 years ago, he came home from school after his first couple of months, and I picked him up at the bus station, which was pretty far away from our house. And he was coming home with a friend. And he got off the bus, and I looked at this handsome child, and he had something wangling from his ear. So I kissed him hello. And I said, you can get in the car. That thing stays outside. Oh, Mother, don't be ridiculous. Everybody's doing it. I said, listen, I don't have to look at it. I brought you into this world. I still pay the bills. As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears. He thought I was kidding. I said, you got 5 minutes, boy. And he hung around, he spoke to his friend, and they were trying to figure out whether I was serious or not. 5 minutes passed, the thing wasn't out of his ear. I got in my car and I went home. And about 2.5 hours later, because it took that long by public transportation, you know where this was? This was in the Bronx, where he was in the Bronx, all the way up in the Bronx, where the bus came in from Albany, Bronx, New York. He managed to find his way home without the earring in his ear. Now, that doesn't mean when he was in college, He didn't have rings and ropes and dangles and doodads hanging out from every orifice of his body. But I didn't have to look at it. So you didn't do the right thing. You know, you're supposed to be a parent first and a friend second. And a parent says, babe, you got a couple more years until you are 18 years old. Then I can't tell you what to do, right? You want to paint polka dots on your face, you can paint polka dots on your face. But while you're in my house, I don't want to have to look at this thing here. I don't want to look at something in your tongue. I don't want to look at something in your nose. I just don't want to see it. You didn't do that. That really irritated him. Right, Mr. Carlin?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So the problem is this. I find it difficult, Mr. Carlin, to imagine that 3 years have gone by with you taking no action whatsoever, even to get $100, $200, and have done nothing over the 3-year period of time to recoup any money if you say that there was this verbal agreement. I have a problem with that. So I'm going to take care of the lawsuit right now. I'm not satisfied that you have established to my satisfaction that there was this contract.
Your Honor, child support is more than just a check in the mail each week. There's
Sir, if that's
parental
what you're
support.
banking on, I'm telling you, it doesn't hold water. Karate lessons don't come under the category of necessaries for anybody. So I'm not, if that's what you're hanging your hat on, forget it. More importantly, Mr. Carlin, you have invested 16 years in your daughter. And I think it's a mistake to cut her off after 16 years because she, as a 16-year-old, made a foolish mistake. Big mistake, Mr. Carlin. I want you to rethink it. In any event, this lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I took care of her.
Not one
From a-
phone call
from an
since July 15th. Not one phone call. Nothing.
Sarah don't know how to use a phone.
Your duty's to call her at 7 o'clock
That's
at
my
night.
duty.
Yeah, you're
That's
the
my
father. She's a child.
She's 16 years old.
Great, great.
She's 16 years old. She can make up her mind.
And now the next case.
Parties on Lehman versus Morris. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morris to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. She's suing because April's ex-husband, James, repossessed it.
It's not every case that has a moral. This case has a moral. You know what that is?
Yes.
You know what the moral is?
Don't do business with friends.
That's one, but the other one would be never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce. It's always a mistake, right? Ms. Lamont, according to your papers, the defendant was a friend of yours. She and her husband were divorcing. You the husband?
Yes.
And I'm sure in addition to other things, there was a truck that they wanted to sell, or that she wanted to sell. There were payments due and owing on the truck. You made an arrangement with her to take over the payments on the truck and to do substantial repairs that were on the truck.
Correct.
You paid the money for the repairs. You didn't have the truck in your possession at that
No,
time.
I did not.
Truck is in the shop.
Correct.
And you kept paying.
I made one payment.
In August.
In August, correct.
And according to these papers, for most of the month of August, the truck was still in the shop.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me why you did that in a minute. And then, in the divorce, according to your answer, he got possession of the truck, and he came and took it out of her driveway. Is that this case?
Well, it was parked on the street.
Or took it from the street. So you want to be paid back for all the repairs you did on the truck, for the payment that you made on the truck, and then there's something here about punitive damages, which is really nonsense.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We started getting in a fight after her boyfriend said that he was attracted to me after we had gone out one night together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morris to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. April and her ex-husband James say they repossessed the truck because Kelly made the payments late.
So let's hear about this deal.
Okay, well, April and I have been friends since the first day of high school. I needed a more dependable vehicle. She had it. I said, okay, we made this arrangement. At the time when the payment came due for the August payment, I didn't want to make it. I didn't have the truck. Why should I make it if I didn't own it?
Why do you think she should have made payment on the truck if the truck wasn't in her possession?
It was her agreement with me that she would make that first payment. And we thought that the body work that needed to be done would be done a lot sooner.
But it wasn't. Didn't it seem unfair to you that she had
It wasn't
made
my fault.
hundreds of...
It wasn't my fault that the body, she agreed to make the payment.
But didn't it seem unfair to you? This is a friend of yours. Didn't it seem unfair to you that you had this truck that needed all kinds of repairs in order to make it drivable? Because there's stuff that was needed on the clutch and the bodywork and the muffler, things that she didn't know about at the beginning.
She knew about everything, and it was her choice.
The muffler was never told that it needed a new muffler.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I was never told that the windshield was cracked. I was never told that the truck had actually been rolled and that there was more damage to it than that was apparently done to
Well,
it.
the truck wasn't rolled. Gives you another good lesson.
Right.
You don't buy a pig in a poke. If you're going to start spending money on something, you take a look at it, even if you're dealing with a friend. So you made the August payment.
Late. She made it late when she promised to make it on time.
She made it late, but at the time that she made it, she still didn't have the vehicle in her
That wasn't
possession.
my fault, though. But she didn't
Whose
have a
fault
problem
is it?
with
It wasn't my fault, madam. The truck was in your possession, under your control when it was damaged. Wasn't under her control when it was damaged.
She didn't have a problem with making that payment until we got in a fight over her boyfriend.
How much did you spend on this truck altogether?
Oh, I've spent a total of $1,053.38.
$1,053
and 38 cents.
38 cents. And that includes the bills that you have to show me for the repairs, as well as the 1 month's payment for August. You don't deny that she paid you this money?
I don't know what she's giving you.
Okay, show it to her.
At the time that the repairs were being done, I was told it would be a matter of days when I had given her the money, and it ended up taking like 2 weeks.
And that was not my fault. I kept mailing checks to the body shop, and they kept telling me they didn't receive them.
It's always somebody else's fault. You keep saying it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's not her fault. You, step up here, I have a question for you. What's your name?
James.
James, you went and took the truck off the street.
Yes.
Did you know she had made all these repair payments? Look at me, James. Don't look at the floor. Did you know she had made all the repairs?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you think it was wrong to go and take the truck?
No.
Why not?
She didn't do everything she said she was going to do.
You're talking about this September payment that she didn't make on time. You repossessed this truck from her September 12th.
By the law,
No,
you
not
have to have
September 12th.
insurance on the vehicle. She didn't have insurance on the vehicle.
Did you ever discuss it? I mean, you were friends. Is that right?
Jim was
They
not
were
even
friends.
involved.
Just a second. If you were friends with her, that means you knew each other. You would socialize in each other's homes. Your
Past.
children played. Is that true?
Kind of.
They never got along. They never got along.
I
He
could
jumped
understand
on her.
that. That's very understandable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, right now, she's out all this money, and you got the truck. And you were awarded the truck in the divorce, sir. Is
Yes.
that right?
That's right.
How many cars did your family have?
2.
2. You had the truck, and what kind of car did you have?
A Ford Escort.
Uh-huh. So you agreed between the two of you that you would keep the Escort and you would keep the truck. Is that correct?
But we also agreed that if she made the payments on time, as soon as our divorce was finalized, that we would sign and let her refinance the truck. But after we got in a fight, she didn't want to refinance. She said, I'm going to do what I want. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take the vehicle from me. She refused to get insurance until it was in her name. Therefore, she's driving around a vehicle that we owe a lot of money on still. She did not make the, okay, granted, give her the first month. She did make the payment on time. If you say she didn't have the vehicle, even though she agreed and it wasn't my fault, the second month, she came up with an excuse. I don't have the money. I can't make it till it's late. She breached our agreement first. And when he took the truck, He took it on his own. I had nothing to do with it. The
Ms.
payment
Morris,
was late.
right now there is something inequitable about you having a totally fixed truck and her having nothing but the bills.
No. We offered to make her payments. They wouldn't accept it. They wanted all the money up front.
She paid all of it up front, $1,053.38. Can I have the bills, please?
She didn't
make it in payments.
I don't agree with all of this.
Ms. Morris, I don't care what you agree with. There is something
You asked me-
inequitable.
you asked me, I'm telling you.
Now I'm asking you to be quiet. You, sir, are driving around in a truck where she fixed the bodywork, she fixed the clutch, she fixed the muffler, she fixed the windshield, and you got
She
a
didn't
brick.
fix the windshield. She didn't fix
no windshield.
Strike windshield. And you're driving around in the truck. You should have taken care of this yourself. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,053.38. That's all.
Parties are. Step forward, please.
32-year-old Jacqueline Levitt is suing the father of her child, Jean Carlos Felix, because she loaned him money to buy computer equipment and was never repaid.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Levitt versus Felix. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
A relationship with the defendant. That relationship produced a child, a son.
Yes.
And that during that 5-year relationship, you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
Yes.
Relationship terminated.
Yes.
You want your money.
Yes.
And you say?
That's not how it happened.
Tell me about it.
Well, we were in a relationship for about, I'd say, a year, over almost a year. And he had for about, I'd say, a year, over almost a year. And he had a computer portrait business, and he wanted to enhance his computer equipment. So he came to me and asked me for a loan. And so I said, well, okay, it's understood that it's a loan. And he said, yeah, any money that I ask of you, I want, it's going to be a loan. I'm going to pay it back. And I said, okay. So I made a record of it. I made a record of everything, you know, because it's a business loan. And so
take it out. Show me. First, show him.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen it? Okay.
This is all the checks and our relationship. He paid me back some money, you know. And so he got a job like this year in July, and he's telling me that he gets paid like $4,000 a month. But yeah, he's not going to pay me back my money because, you know, I was stupid, I was gullible, I believed everything that he said to me. He used me because, you know, I was stupid, I was gullible, I believed everything that he said to me. He used me. He took advantage of my kindness, and we were together for 5 years.
And you say?
We met maybe back in 91 or 92, you know. She came in to get insurance for me, and she's been calling me ever since. And then a week later, I decided to go out with her. And after a couple of months, it just didn't work out. Okay, I said, look, it's not going to work out. You know, you just fresh off a relationship, you're insecure, you low self-esteem and everything. You know, just I don't want to go out with you. Okay, and she started crying. Okay, she's like she grabbed my legs. Okay? She's like, please don't leave me. I don't want to be alone. I don't want this. I don't want that. Okay, I said I'll stay with you, but nothing's going to come out of it. Okay, it was just strictly sexual. You know, we'll go out. She even called me her booty call. She called me when she wants to have sex.
That's
okay?
not true, Your Honor.
That's how it works, you know. I mean, I'd go out, do my own thing, you know, go out with whoever I wanted, okay, if I don't have anything better to do.
How chivalrous of you.
Well, I mean, that's what I pointed out. It's even on paper, you know. It's just like, take it or leave it, okay? I'm not going to have a relationship with you. Okay?
All of that is, listen, that's a boy-girl thing. If she wants to accept a relationship under those conditions, that's fine.
That's what she
We're
accepted.
talking here about
I'm getting to that. I am getting to that. But in the meantime...
Loans, your insurance, all these checks with your signature on the back of endorsements. So, car payment.
I never asked her to pay anything for me, okay?
But just a second. Did you take it?
Yeah, she volunteered. Why not? You know? That's like she thought she had to do that, okay, in order to keep me from leaving her. It's either pay stuff for me or send me dirty pictures, half-naked pictures, Just
Put them
everything.
away. I don't want to see them.
You don't want to see? I've got them here. Anybody
No,
else?
just a second.
right.
Anybody else want to see it? Is that what you just said? Did you just say anybody else want to see it?
But the whole thing was a joke to me. You know, it's like things were not working out from day one, and she's like,
So why didn't you just say goodbye?
I have.
You're a big guy. You want to say goodbye to somebody, you could just say goodbye.
I went to Miami. I went to Orlando. She would track me down. I have letters she sent me to everywhere I go.
Well, so you understood Mr. Felix, right? That according to you, Miss Levitt was infatuated with you.
Yes.
And you felt that she was, according to you, insecure. Is that right? Fair statement? Vulnerable because of that.
Maybe
Right?
you could see that.
Because of that.
Maybe
Right?
you could see that. Sure.
And so you decided to go over and, according to you, for want of a better phrase that unfortunately doesn't come to my mind right now, service, right? Service her occasionally and pick up a check.
Nah, it wasn't those like that.
Let's go back a second, Mr. Felix. You did service her,
Yes.
and you did pick up a check.
That's not service for a check. It
No,
wasn't
no.
like that.
I'm just saying, you did service her, and you did pick up a check or two, or 10.
Sure.
Or 20. Now, Mr. Felix, that's not very nice, sir. That doesn't say to me that you are a very nice person. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Judge.
That you are a very nice person. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got pregnant on purpose. That didn't work. Okay, I'm not going to be with her no matter what she does.
And later today,
You made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
My family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacqueline Levitt says the father of her child, Jean Carlos Felix, borrowed money to buy computer equipment, but never repaid her. He says the money was a gift.
Can I make this suggestion to you, sir? There will come a time when Miss Levitt will become so frustrated with the situation that if you don't take her to court, and I doubt that you will, because I doubt that you have this passion to see your child on a regular basis, but she will feel as if, as she should, that the child has a right to be supported by two parents. And that's what the law says. So she's going to take you to court. And under the law in many jurisdictions, she can take you to court seeking support from the date of the child's birth. Do you understand that? So I'm going to suggest, Mr. Felix, that from now on, when you make child support payments, you make them by check or money order made payable to her, clearly endorsed child support. So should there ever be a question about how much money you have paid, it is memorialized in a writing. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Sherritt versus Liebenson. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Jill Sherratt says her ex-boyfriend, Brad Liebenson, missed several payments.
You were dating. He wanted a You were dating. He wanted a watercraft.
Yes.
Something that you ride on the water.
Exactly.
Very California.
Yes, it is.
But he had no credit. So you got the watercraft. She got the bill. And then you broke up, leaving you with the bill.
Yes, I do.
You have the bill?
I did.
Did you pay for it?
Up to a certain point, that's correct.
How much?
$1,000.
And how much was the watercraft?
Approximately $4,000.
So that leaves, well, explain to me why you don't owe her the watercraft or the...
Approximately $4,000.
That leaves, well, explain to me why you don't owe her the watercraft or the $3,000.
Well, in the statement that I did give, we had come upon an agreement to where after I paid for her to stay with me during the period of our relationship and the money that I spent, that the balance...
Idea.
During one of our last meetings, before she actually moved out.
You had this conversation with her that you remember vividly as you stand here before me today.
Yes.
How long did you live together?
4 years.
He says that you came up with this agreement with regard to the watercraft, that you lived with him. I assume he's going to tell me that he paid all the bills. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the watercraft, that you lived with him. I assume he's going to tell me that he paid all the bills. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that therefore you had an understanding that he would pay for the first $1,000 of the watercraft. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
There was never any conversation like that at all. The only conversation in regards to the jet ski was that I was going to pay for it and he would make the monthly payments on it until it was paid off or until he could come up with the lump sum to pay it off. There was never any trade for this, trade for that. That was never discussed. That wasn't part of the agreement at all.
Mr. Liebenson, when you were together, tell me what kind of expenses you took care of, sir.
Rent, utilities, car payment, things like that.
For yourself and for the plaintiff?
That's correct.
She had her own car?
Yep.
And you made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
Explain that to me.
She didn't have money for a car when she moved out here. She borrowed money from her family. I repaid most of that money.
How much money?
Approximately $3,000.
Can you show me how you repaid that money?
I made payments to them.
How?
By check and by giving money to Jill.
Well, let me see some checks.
I don't have them here.
Get copies of that, sir.
They weren't able to get them to me.
Does any of that sound familiar?
No, my family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them for repayment of a car which I paid every dime of.
Assuming, Mr. Liebenson, that I do not believe you, let's start with that premise, sir. Your answer, sir, says for the first year and a half that you were sir, says for the first year and a half that you were together, you paid for rent, bills, car repairs, and food. There isn't anything here about repaying a loan to her parents.
Maybe
Nothing.
I omitted that when writing my statement.
Well, your statement is 2 pages long, sir. That's a really big thing to omit, considering that it's the first thing that you mentioned to me today, and just happens to be in the same approximate amount of the water ski. And you go into great detail in your answer. Jill and I lived together for 4.5 years. During the last 6 to 8 months, I decided to purchase a personal watercraft.
That's correct.
Not the two of you. I decided. Although you say, due to my credit standing at that particular time, I was denied the loan. Jill offered to use her credit to obtain the loan. And then you say, after the separation, I discussed the fact that I had supported her during the first year or so, and we should offset that. So you go into great detail. Nothing about this loan that you paid, that you couldn't get from microfilm from your bank.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, you got the watercraft?
That's right.
You got the bill. How much did you pay?
Altogether, a little over $5,000 with finance charges because it was a revolving line of credit, so there was finance charges that were accrued.
You're only suing for $3,200.
Yeah, basic blue book cost of the watercraft. It's basically the principle of the thing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200.
Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Ma'am.
You two gals are real good friends. You went to some sort of an event, which you're going to tell me about. One of the things that happened at that event was that there was a door prize of a brand new Jeep automobile. Right?
Correct. Yes.
She won, you think that you should get half. Right?
No. Not exactly.
Well,
I think we both won.
You think you both won, and she claimed the prize.
Yeah, she ended up going behind back and claiming the prize.
All right, let's start from the beginning. What kind of an event was this?
It was just an event from a radio station and Taco Bell. It was just a concert.
Slowly.
It was just a concert. It was just a concert where these rappers are going to be there or something like that.
You, according to your complaint, got the concert tickets and asked her if she wanted to go.
No, she got the concert tickets.
She got the tickets.
Yeah, and she asked me if I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I agreed, and we went, and at the door, they asked us if we wanted to gamble, and we said yes, and they gave us $500 fake dollars each.
Did you have to pay for that?
No. No, they just asked us at the front, if you wanted to gamble, you got $500. If you didn't, well, you didn't gamble.
So it was like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And after that, she asked me, I mean, I was there with her the whole time, but then she asked me if she could gamble my money, and I said, sure, go ahead, you know, and she's like...
You weren't gambling?
No, I was just standing right there, just helping her out. That was about it. She gambled, she got all my money, she gambled it away, and we ended up getting chips for, just chips, regular chips of what you gamble with, and when you were gambling, so we had to trade those in for tickets, and... After that, some guys just came up to us and told us that, oh, they were leaving. They were in a rush, so they came over and they gave us their tickets. They said, here, girls, good luck, and if you guys win, give us a call.
So now you had these whole bunch of tickets, and you threw them in a pot.
We just, yeah.
Who held on to the stubs?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was, she had it in my backpack, so she put it in the backpack. We had a backpack. It was only one, so she put them in there.
And you had a whole bunch of them. How many did you have?
There was probably 50 or probably more. I wouldn't know. We didn't count them. And we just threw them inside the backpack. And it was time for them to call out the tickets. The time came, so we went down there and they started calling out tickets. We won other prizes. Prior to that, we won something else. And it was time to call out.
What else did you win?
We won a jacket and a backpack. And
what'd you do with that?
One of us kept the backpack and the other one kept the jacket.
Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I guess the time came to win the thing, and we just got the tickets, and she's like, here, you take half, because there was so many of them. We just split them up. She said, you take half, I'll take the other half. And
to look
at
the numbers as they were calling the numbers.
Yeah, so then after that, they called the number. That was about it. They called.
And you had the ticket. You were holding that ticket.
Yeah, she was holding the ticket.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this question. There came a time when you did split up these tickets. Right? She held half and you held half. Tell me about that moment.
As I recall, we just split them up.
Not we split them up. They're in your hands.
Okay, I split them up evenly.
Split them up evenly?
Yes, I just gave her half and, you know, we both looked at them.
Okay. Am I correct that your reason that that was done was because it's too difficult to look at all the numbers as they're calling out the numbers, like in a bingo or something, you know, so that each one of you was looking through half.
Correct.
Right? And your ticket won.
Yeah, they were my tickets. They were all my tickets.
Now, why do you think they were all your tickets?
Because she had given me her $500. I did not ask her if I can play with her $500. She gave them to me. She gave the $500 to me.
How did that come about?
She said, here, take my money. You can gamble with it.
Is that what you said?
No.
No, that's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
No, we were gambling. She ended up, she was like down to her last $50, and she just said, can I, oh, let me have your money. And she said, if we would win the Jeep, we would split it up.
I had said that from the guys' tickets. I had the guys' tickets in one hand, and I had my tickets in the other hand. The ones that I had won.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. All the tickets were together in your backpack at one point. Oh, I think that they probably were. All the tickets were together in your backpack.
At one point, I had put them all together, yes.
Right. So at that point, they were all mixed together.
Yes.
Yours and the guys.
Yes.
Right. So there really is no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or the guy's ticket that won.
Exactly.
Well, now at least we got that straight. So it's not in one hand and then the other hand.
But I had told her, out of their tickets that they gave us, actually they gave me the tickets, and I told her out of those tickets, if we win it, we'll split it because we were friends.
You couldn't tell whether it was their ticket that won.
No, we could not.
You just assumed it was comfortable for you to say it wasn't one of their tickets that won, it was my ticket that won.
I did not say that.
You had no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or one of the guy's tickets that won.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Mike, Tila? Hello?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You speak to this pain in the neck, and a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep.
And later today,
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls.
Right.
And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Myra Barraza is suing her former best friend Tina Barraza after they won a new Jeep in a raffle.
I see that you have a tape there. Can you tell me what that tape is of?
This is just the day of the event. Recorded us where we both claimed the prize. We both did go up there and claim the prize. And
For the
said,
Jeep?
Yes.
I want to see it.
Here we go. 607 487. Who won the Jeep?
Well, that certainly looks as if, at least at that moment, there was a mutuality that each of you won that prize. So what happened?
I was willing to split with her.
So?
And that's what we were going to do until about a month later. She had called me up and she had said that she wanted to give it to me. She said, go ahead and have it, in other words.
Where was it?
I hadn't got it yet.
Did you do that?
No, I called her up. There was all this stuff was going on with the Jeep. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was a big old thing about it. We didn't know how we were going to split it up, who was going to pay for tax and license and everything. And we were going to get the confirmation letter. And I called her up and I told her, yes, you could stay with the Jeep. But she had said if she stood with the Jeep, she was going to give me an $8,000 loan. That's how much the car was worth, $16,000.
I did not state that.
And I told her, okay. She said she was going to tell her dad, sell her other car that she had just bought, sell it back, and instead of paying $15,000, she'll just tell her dad to get an $8,000 loan and pay me for it. And I said, okay. We agreed. I never thought anything. I just said, okay. We didn't. It was just a verbal thing. But I did tell her, okay, you could keep the Jeep and
that sounds reasonable because you can't split up the Jeep.
Yeah, and I just said, okay. And I said, you could pay my $8,000 or else we're just going to sell the Jeep and we're both going to get our half.
No, she did not say that on the phone. She told me that she wanted me to keep the Jeep. That's what she told me.
What? Of course, that's what she said to you.
Yeah, but she did not specify that she wanted me to give her $8,000.
Well, why would she make you a gift of $8,000? If the Jeep is worth $16,000, why in the world do you think, madam, that she would make you a gift of $8,000, which is half of the Jeep? Why?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let's go slowly. What word didn't you understand? Why do you think that she would make you a present of $8,000?
She did not say anything about $8,000. I did not hear anything about $8,000 on that telephone call. At that time, I was like happy. I was happy that she given it to me. And I figured that
what are you doing standing up here?
I want to step in for the spot where she called her. She told me through everything that happened.
She called me every time they had a conversation. She was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What do I do about the Jeep? Do I split it in half? Should I sell it? What? I told her, you know what? You won the tickets to that concert. It's your Jeep. You were holding the ticket at the time she won it.
Oh, you're the troublemaker. Sit down. Sit down.
As I was saying, I figured the reason why she said that on the telephone is because she knew that she did not have any part in the ticket winning.
Oh, please, madam. I want to tell you something. I think that your conduct was really outrageous to bring it to this point. First of all, the two of you have been friends. There isn't a question in my mind. What?
9 years.
12 years.
There isn't a question in my mind, after looking at that tape, that at the time that that Jeep was won, the two of you, both of you, I saw her signing papers.
We didn't sign any
Just a
paper.
second.
It was just a back of a flyer. We put down both our names and addresses.
Right. It was the back of a flyer. You both put down your names and addresses as the winners. Right?
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime you speak to this pain in the neck who says to you, I don't think you have to split it with her at all because it was your ticket, it was in your hand. And a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep because there is no logical reason that I can think of, except if you're drinking too much, to think that this lady would call you up and say, I just want to give it to you because you're a very nice person. I care about you.
No.
Please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Myra Peraza and her former best friend, Tina Peraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle. But Myra says Tina is refusing to share.
Listen to me. Bottom line is, the maximum jurisdiction in this court is $5,000.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now, she claimed this prize. I assume you went and claimed the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. She told me to do what's right, and that's what I thought was right.
Yeah, she just went off this one day. I spoken to her the weekend before she did this. I spoken to her the whole week when she went off to the radio station and had a cashier's check with her parents. And she did this on Friday. I spoke to her Friday and Saturday. She told me nothing. I told her what's going on. She said nothing. I haven't spoken to them. I haven't heard of anything.
Miss Peraza, your friendship's over.
I know that.
And based upon what I've heard, that's probably the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Because she's not a very trustworthy person. Now, she claimed the Jeep. She's going to have to pay the taxes on it. But I'm awarding you $5,000, which is the maximum that I can. My grandmother used to say, if you do the right thing happens. If you do the wrong thing, eventually it's going to catch up with you. What you did was pretty sneaky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Okay, you got your Jeep. You got her money.
Back door to your right, please.
Just to reiterate what Judge Judy said, bad things, it all comes back to people or whatever. It's going to come back to her because I did what I thought was right, and in God I trust that I do what's right, and I think it's going to come back to her what she did because she was wrong, not me. She's lucky for even being there. She's lucky for even being at the event. I don't see that she deserves half. I won the tickets to go to the event, and she was even lucky that I took her.
You got your $5,000
Yeah,
you wanted.
I did.
So
I
now you can
did.
shut up.
Yeah, you
Okay.
too.
You had nothing to do with this.
And now the next case.
Parties on Anderson versus Rankin. Step forward, please.
Margaret Anderson is suing her tenant, Tim Rankin, claiming he made phone calls to 900 numbers totaling more than $1,000.
All right, Mr. Rankin. You rented a room from the plaintiff.
That's correct.
And I believe that you will agree, based upon what doesn't seem to be in dispute, that when you moved in, you wanted a telephone in your room.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
She offered to put the phone.
Because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
I owed a past due bill on the Pacific bill.
So the answer to my question is yes. You couldn't get the phone in your name.
Correct.
I knew we'd get there, Bird.
Take your time, bitch.
So she said, okay, Yes. Okay? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Yes. I could tell you were nervous. She said, okay, you put the phone in your room, and within a relatively short period of time, you got a bill.
Yep.
And how much was that bill for?
$1,059.
For a 1 month period?
2 months period.
2 months. And you say I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
Is the phone in your room?
Yes, it is.
You think she did it?
I doubt it.
Look at this lady. Look, I just want you to look at her. You think she went into your room and made the calls?
I doubt it.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
That's right.
Now, you want to try to explain to me in 100 words or less why it shouldn't be you?
In 100 words or less, I don't know if I can do it in 100 words or less, but I believe that the other tenant that was living there made those phone calls.
So,
and there's a reason behind why I think he made those phone calls.
I'll hear you.
Okay, well, the former tenant and her had a limousine business. She put up $27,000 for a limousine. Somehow I was drawn into the middle of that. Their business relationship didn't work out from the get-go. They were screaming and yelling every night there. And because I didn't take his side in the limousine business, he started to have an attitude against me. Eventually, I had to throw him in jail for assault on me at the lady's house. The following day, her and I went down and put restraining orders on him. At that point, I believe he went in my room. He wanted me out of that house no matter what. No matter what the cost, so he could work on her by himself. I believe that he went into my room and made a bunch of phone calls, information phone calls. I'm not sure what exactly they were. Psychic, maybe, I don't know what kind of phone calls they were.
Psychic hotline calls? Is that what they were?
900. Sex calls.
Sex calls.
Sex calls. Okay.
Okay. So that's your defense. You know, we used to call that, when I was sitting judge in Manhattan, somebody once told me that that's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude
done it.
Did it. Did you ever hear that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Rankin, let's keep this simple, sir. Somebody's got to pay this bill. The phone is in your room. If the phone had been in your room and been in your name, you would have had to have paid the phone bill. And then if you felt that somebody in an unauthorized fashion used your phone, you would go and sue them, right?
That's correct.
But you don't say to the telephone company, listen, Ma Belle, I didn't make the phone calls from my phone. Somebody else did it. You pay the bill, and then you pursue whatever other remedies you have. You are responsible to safeguard the phone in your room. Not her. She was doing you a favor. Why should she be out $1,059? Is there any reason?
No, there's not a reason
Good.
she should be out.
Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,059.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom, ma'am. Judge, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Gigliotti versus Kemp. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Gigliotti, you were going to the post office.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, you got to the post office and looking for a place to park, and all the parking spots were taken.
It was about 10:40 in the morning. I drove into the parking lot. I noticed there was no spaces available. I looked over the parking space for the handicapped, and there was a car there, and I noticed that it had Louisiana license plates that were not handicap provided. I also looked at the front mirror to see if there was a placard there.
So you got out of your car?
Yes, I did. And then I went back to my car and I took out a Polaroid camera, and I took a picture of the car and my car as it was seated in the parking space for the handicapped, and then I wrote down the license plate number. And I also noticed when I was around front that it had a Navy parking sticker on it. So I copied down the number of that also.
Okay. So far, what you were doing is you were outraged that somebody parked in the handicapped parking spot.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, as I was writing down the license plate number from the car that was parked there, it was a black Plymouth, a woman came out of the post office, and she started yelling and screaming and waving her arms. She was waving her arms like this. And she said, you move that car, I'll move you.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Why did you have to move your car?
I had pulled in behind the car that was in the parking space in order to get out of the driveway, because the driveway was right next to that parking space. I pulled in behind it.
So you blocked the car?
Yes.
Now, when you looked inside the car, did you see anybody in the car?
I didn't notice anybody at that time, Your Honor.
Okay, so you had now blocked the car, and the woman came out and said, you better move the car.
Yes.
What did you do?
She was yelling and screaming, and I was absolutely certain that she was going to cause some violence. So I walked away from her and walked into the post office and called the police.
Why didn't you just get into your car and move your car?
I didn't think I had that much time. She was coming at me rather fast, rather loud.
Order.
Yeah, go ahead.
And while I was waiting in the post office, Miss Corbett, who was going to be the witness, came in and said, is that your car with the handicap placard in the parking lot? And I said, yes, it was. And she said, that woman just keyed your car. And I went out to the parking lot to see if I could see where she had keyed the car, but she was still walking up and down between the two cars, yelling and screaming and throwing her arms around. So I didn't go out there. I just waited until the police came. And when the police came, I did go out and I inspected the car, and it had been keyed, the entire driver's side.
Okay. You do have handicap plates on your car?
I do.
Why is that, sir?
Because I have a back injury that limits my ability to walk.
How long have you had that back injury?
2.5 years.
And how long have you had the handicap plates?
About 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Step up, please.
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Janice Corbett.
Miss Corbett, I assume you work in the post office. You're the postal worker.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this lady key his car?
I saw this lady do a keying motion to his car.
So, describe what you saw.
I saw her talking with another woman and some children, and she had her keys in her hand. She was frustrated. Then she went to the side of his car, and her arm turned. I could not actually see the key in her hand at this moment, but her arm was turned so I could see this part, and she walked stiff-armed alongside the car.
Okay. Ms. Kemp?
Yes.
According to your complaint, and you have a countersuit against the plaintiff for unlawful imprisonment of both you and your children, who you say were in the car.
Yes.
How many children did you have in the car?
3.
How old are they?
At the time, the twins were 4 months old, and Nicholas was 5 years old.
What were you doing at the post office?
I went to the post office that morning to mail a few letters and to purchase stamps. I did pull in to a handicap spot. Yes, I know that was wrong, but thinking that I would be in there 2 to 3 minutes, I knew I would be right back out. I just didn't think there would be a problem. So, and I was in a hurry because I went there before I brought Nicholas to school. So we went into the post office, my kids and I did what I had to do. I stopped at the front counter to make out some things on the...
How are you holding the twins?
They were in a stroller.
So you actually took them out of the car and put the twins in the stroller?
Yes.
And Nicholas was with you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And we went into the post office. Like I said, on the way out, I stopped at the desk to put the stamps on and all. So I did that. We went back to the car. He said I was waving my arms. I didn't even recognize him because I was in such a hurry to get Nicholas to school. But I got in the car. As I looked back to see if my pathway was clear, then I realized he was parked behind me. So that parking lot is really small. So I thought maybe he was just trying to maneuver his way out of it. He didn't move. So I just sat there and waited a second because I didn't really know what he was doing. So he didn't move. I saw him come out of his trunk with a camera. So he started to take pictures. And so I didn't think anything. And then I looked up and there was his handicap. I said, okay, I know what he's doing and I know what I did. So I got out and I was not enraged because I knew I was wrong. I became upset when he said he was not going to move. So I waited until he was done with it because I thought that would be the end of it. He's taking pictures. This is his evidence. They'll give me a ticket. That was not the end of it. So he went into the front part of his car to do what I don't know. So that's when I took a step to the back of my car and I asked him, would he then move? He said there was no way in hell he was going to move. And he was the person that was yelling. I was not yet upset because I wasn't quite sure what his intentions were yet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
When she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe
She's got 30
you.
years and 30 pounds on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp slashed his tires and keyed his car in the post office parking lot. Monica says Jerome blocked her car so she couldn't pull out, leaving her and her children trapped.
You knew you had done something wrong.
Right.
But you knew that what he was doing, that he was gathering evidence so that he could present it to give you a ticket.
After a while. Mhm.
Okay.
And he told me there was no way in hell he was going to move. I then started to tell him that, you know, I had to get Nicholas to school. I informed him that I did not have any more formula for my kids because I didn't bring any because I was intending a quick trip to the post office and to school.
I assume you were pretty hot at this point, Ms. Kemp. I assume you were.
I was not angry yet because I thought once I told him that, he would move. And I offered him other information of mine. I told him he could have my driver's license number. I did notice when he came to the front of the car, he was copying down my military information. I asked him, didn't he have enough information? He was ignoring me. When I offered more information, he ignored me. And at this point, when he started to walk off, I was like, I don't believe this. You are going to let us out, aren't you? And he just walked off. And so there was another woman who came up and she just started to ask me what was the problem and are you okay, because by this point I had become extremely emotional because it's like, okay, this man is not going to move and my kids are in the car and it's hot and they were starting to cry and I was just really upset. I was scared. So she tried to calm me down. She went in the post office and she asked him to move. And
did somebody else come into the post office and ask you to move, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you?
I told her I wasn't going to go out there so long as that other woman, Miss Kemp, was out there.
All they wanted you to do was move the car.
You
Sir.
did not see the condition that she was. She was yelling and screaming, waving her arms, and there was no way I was going to get into a fight with her.
what was I going to do, throw a baby at you?
Just a second.
I had a baby in
Just
my
a
arm.
You know that all she wanted you to do was to move your car. She wasn't going to get into a fight with you because if she got into a fight with you, she couldn't get her kids in her car out. Come on, sir. Let's be honest with each other. You were very angry that someone had parked in the handicap spot that was really reserved for you. Now, I can understand that. I can really understand that. There's nothing to suggest that you did anything wrong in taking down the license plate number, copying down the Navy information, taking a photograph of her parking in that spot. I'm telling you now, I do have a problem with you blocking her car, especially when you knew that there were children with her, twins, under 6 months old, and her son. I do. I mean, you came into court today, not in a wheelchair, sir. You didn't come in a wheelchair and you didn't come in a stretcher. So I don't know how come it is that you got a handicap parking placard. I have difficulty walking too sometimes. Nobody's going to give me a handicap parking placard. Right? Even a bird here sometimes gets tired, right, Bird? So, can't get a holier-than-thou approach to life, sir, and look at everything reasonably. I mean, this is a situation that was a fast-paced situation, but try to have a little understanding. She was prepared to get a ticket. You could have seen to it that she got a ticket. But you went a little overboard. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that you keyed his car.
I did not key his car.
Somebody keyed his car. Let me see the pictures of your car. Come on, Miss Kemp. So far, you've been very honest with me. So far, I believe you've been very honest with me.
I have been.
That's right. Let's see, Roxas. And aside from the scratch marks on your car, you also had a blown tire, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it wasn't blown, it was
What was it?
slashed. I have a cast of the tire here that shows it's a very neat cut. And when I took it into the tire repair place, they said they couldn't patch it and that it had gone about ½ an inch into the tire. And it's a very narrow cut, so you can see there was a cut and there wasn't road damage.
If it was cut, you must have cut it, because I didn't.
Let me take a look at that, please. Well, it's kind of hard to slash a tire with a key.
May I say something?
Sure.
I would like to know if his tire was slashed, how did he back out to let me out? How did he get out?
I just said to you, I don't think he can establish through any witness that he has today that you did anything to the tire of his car. That's not what this witness said. Miss Kemp, look at me, dear.
I'm looking.
Keying his car. Saying, Miss Kemp, I'm not suggesting to you that the situation didn't enrage you. You had a right to be enraged.
I know.
I believe you had a right to be enraged. What you did was a violation. Sir, what she was engaged in was a violation. I find it disingenuous on your part to suggest that you feared for your life, and when you called the police, you said that a woman had just assaulted you, because that's what you wrote in your complaint. This woman never assaulted you. If she came out swinging her arms and being very agitated because her car was blocked, that is not an assault.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp did damage to his car at the post office. Monica denies she did anything wrong and says Jerome overreacted by blocking her car for 2 hours.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
You need help.
What you found was a violation. No different from finding somebody parked in front of a fire hydrant. Same kind of violation. The action that you took was not in direct proportion to the violation that you observed. Once, sir, you observed this lady and her children. She had 3 little kids. Wisdom would have been the better part of your action, and if you would have said, I now have the proof to take to the police, this is her car, this is this, she is going to get a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot, which was clearly wrong, you and I would have had no problem. And if she vandalized your car, which I believe that you did, Ms. Kemp.
I see that, but I didn't.
Yes, you did. Your action was not responsive to what you saw, sir. You did not exercise good, mature judgment. Good, mature judgment would have meant, once you saw what she had in the car, which was 3 small children, you pulled the car out, let her leave, report it to the police, go to the Army barracks, do whatever you wanted to do in order to see to it that she had to pay an appropriate fine. It would have aggravated her enough to have paid a fine. What you chose to do was to create and incite a situation by blocking her car. That was dumb, stupid, and I guarantee you, if she had been 6'4" and a man walking out of that post office, you would not have blocked the car. No question in my mind, you would not have blocked that car. So,
Your Honor,
I have
pulled
a
in,
lawsuit.
I didn't intend to block her car.
Well, you
I
did.
intended to take down the information.
You
When
did.
she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I
She's
don't
got
believe
30
you.
years and 30 pounds on
I
me.
don't believe you, sir. All
30
you had
years,
to do,
you
hey,
wish.
all you had to do was
Look
get
like my
in your
great-grandfather.
car. You had already taken the pictures. Get in your car and leave. And she, with her 3 small children, was not going to assault you. And you will never convince me otherwise, sir. Never. So, you have a lawsuit, and you are suing her for $5,000 for illegally parking in a handicapped space.
Your Honor, I later found out that she lives 1 block from the post office.
And?
Just a second.
She
My
could have
son-
walked home if she wanted to. She's 1 block away.
And you
Sir,
could
Shay,
have moved.
please don't respond to him.
You're right, I shouldn't.
Shh, please don't respond to him. First of all, how did you find out she lives a block away from the post office?
I took the license plate down and I used the DMV in New Orleans, in Louisiana and Baton Rouge to find the registered owner. And then through the Postal Service, I obtained a forwarding address from that address to the address in San Diego.
Do you work?
Yes.
You wouldn't
What kind of
think
shop?
so.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Yes. That's what I think.
Because if you took the time over this nonsense
Yes.
that you have just told me about,
Yes.
you'd be far better to donate some of your time and some of your energy, sir, to the poor. I was sympathetic to you up to a point. There isn't a soul who drives a car that isn't infuriated when they are driving around and around and around and looking for a parking space and see somebody who has abused their parking privilege and parked in a handicapped spot. Not a soul who's driven a car who hasn't had that kind of frustration. You took it a step too far. And she has a cross complaint against you for $5,000 for unlawful imprisonment for a period of well over 20 minutes. Is that what it was?
No.
How long?
It was like 3 hours.
Until, from the time he blocked your car until the time the police came, how much time elapsed?
From the time he blocked me until the time the first set of police arrived?
How many sets of police arrived?
They had to call someone else to make him move because he, and that's on my cross complaint also, about the intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is when my son became emotional because he would still not move. They had to call someone else to make him move.
Why wouldn't you move when the
he
first set
wanted me arrested?
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of police came?
The first set of police never asked me to move my car.
I heard him.
Well, you were no longer in fear.
That's true.
Just a second. You were no longer in fear, sir, because you now had police officers around. Why didn't you just move your car?
Because they didn't tell me to. All they wanted to do was talk to me.
He's lying.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I believe you keyed his car. Right? Let him fix it. I believe that your children suffered during that period of time. And I assume you'll never park.
5 on the calendar in the matter of Standoff versus Jefferson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen.
This was your boyfriend. How long had you known each other?
About 2.5 years, almost 3 now.
And you're not together anymore.
Correct.
While you were together, he used your credit card to buy rims for his car.
Correct.
And you say, sir, that it was a gift of love.
Yep. Yes.
So, Miss Stanoff, why don't you tell me about this rimming?
We were together about 2.5 years, and we ended up breaking up for about 6 to 9 months. We moved in together as roommates. He needed to purchase some rims. He then put $500 down, wrote a check to West Coast Motorsports in Garden Grove, and then proceeded to tell me that that he needed to have the other $1,300 to pay on the rims, or else he was going to lose his $500. So I went down with him. In return, he said that he would pay me back in full. He had gave me a Vaughn's credit card, or I'm sorry, credit union card. Told me that actually there was $30 taken out of his check every week that I could take out to pay the bill back.
So you broke up, he's got the rims and you got the bill. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Go.
Okay. Well, we broke up. We moved back in together. We were living there for about a week, and she usually takes me out shopping, buying me stuff whenever I want when we get in fights or something. And she offered to buy me some rims for my car. She
Why
paid for
would
them.
she take you out shopping if you have a fight?
That's how she is. Whenever I got mad at her, we got in a fight, she bought me stuff. And she has a record of always, every time we break up, trying to take something back from me. And that's why, like, when we got back together that time, for like 3 years, she made me sign a contract saying that, it was a contract, it was made in 5/30/95, saying that the first thing on there says, whatever you bought me is mine if we break up no matter what. And she signed it and dated it, everything. So that's how she always goes to that stuff. Buys me stuff and then wants to take it back when we break up. When we went to buy the rims, I wrote the check for $500 and she paid the rest with the credit cards. There was no agreement. He was there with me when we bought it. It was us 3 there. We went there. There's no agreement that I had to pay back, nothing. The reason she got my cash card is
Just a second. Who has the car?
The card?
Car!
No, I sold it.
With the rims?
Yes.
How much after she paid for the rims did you sell the car?
I sold it for $18,500.
Well, I didn't ask you that question, but that's an interesting answer.
How much longer?
What?
How much longer? Just
What
about-
word in English didn't you understand?
You said how much the car 3 months ago.
How much after you put the rims on the car did you sell it, was my question. You said $18,000, which isn't exactly
2
an
months.
answer, but I'll take it.
2 months.
Had you already broken up with her at the time?
Yeah.
So why didn't you give her back the money for the rims from the car?
Because they were a gift. That's like
what?
They were a gift. That's like I bought her rings and stuff. Am I supposed to take everything back that I bought her?
Let me explain
That's
something
not
to you,
right.
sir. There's a difference between a ring, a piece of jewelry, a watch, a shirt, a tie, a pair of rollerblades. There's a difference between that and 4 rims for your car.
There's no difference. It's material.
How old are you?
20.
Where do you live?
In Hawaiian Gardens.
Who do you live with?
My grandma.
Your grandmother?
Yes.
Where do your parents live?
Just, I don't know. I don't talk to my parents.
You don't know, you don't talk to them?
Yes.
For how long?
For a while. All my life.
What do you mean all your life?
All my life. Like
You
I
mean
said.
you've always lived with your grandmother?
Yes.
Is it your mother's mother or your father's mother?
Mom's.
Does she talk to her daughter?
Yes.
You ever been arrested, Mr. Jefferson?
Nah. Nope.
Where do you work?
I don't work now.
Why?
Because I quit. Because I lost my license.
What license?
Driver's license.
Why?
For speeding.
How many times?
3.
And you were never arrested, sir?
No, I never arrested, no.
And what kind of car was this that you sold for $18,000?
97 Mitsubishi Eclipse.
How'd you buy it?
Financed it.
What kind of work were you doing when you financed it?
I worked for UPS in Vaughn's.
And what happened to those jobs?
I had to lose them because of her.
You lost your UPS job because of her? How did she cause you to lose your UPS job?
See, that's how it started when she broke into my box and she stole my car keys and my checkbooks, all this stuff, and she stole my car from UPS one night because I worked midnight shift. I go in 3 to 9, and I came out, my car wasn't there, and then I came back and it was moved somewhere else. She stole my car, and I couldn't keep letting my car go out. She always threatened me, saying that all my friends they're gonna steal your car, take the rims off, steal your radio. And then Vaughn's, she went in there harassing me all the time. My boss complained to
So
me.
she wanted the money back for the rims or the
No,
rims
she
right
didn't want
from the
the money.
beginning?
Nah, it's not for the money. It's for the love. She missed me. She wanted me still.
Oh, my God. God help her if that's what she wanted. How old are you?
19.
Who do you live with?
My grandmother.
Where are your parents?
My parents are in Norco. I talk to them once a week.
Where?
Norco, North Corona.
And why don't you live at home?
Because it's too far for me to commute now.
Have you ever met his parents?
I've met his mother.
When?
I've met her a few times during the 2.5 years that we were together. I've seen her probably about a year ago. I saw her.
When you saw them, was he there?
Yeah. He's
Did
the one
he-
that introduced me to her.
Does that sound familiar to you, sir?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
So it's not that you haven't spoken to your parents or your mother?
I don't talk to them.
Oh, God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking.
And later today,
We said to them we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rachel Stanhoff says her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Jefferson, owes her money he borrowed to buy car rims. Joseph claims the money was a gift.
Listen up, Mr. Jefferson. You owe her for the tire rims. You're 20 years old. You could either be in your life. First of all, you got this dumb look on your face, which is really irritating. The smile, which really is irritating, because it looks to me as if you're trying to get over, and you think you're going to get over me. I'm smarter than you will be if you live to be 170 years old. Right? Do you understand that? Because you are either so thick or so impervious to what's right because you had no moral upbringing that I really feel sorry for you. And maybe that accounts for this ridiculous look on your face. But what I'm telling you is, you could either be a nice person or you could be a taker and a sucker all your life, sucking off other people. And it sounds to me as if you started your young life being a sucker off other people, taking advantage of other people and thinking that you have some gift, some special gift. I tell you right now, I got 3 sons, right? And I'm looking at you and I'm saying, you are no gift to anybody.
You gave it.
You are no gift. You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,255. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Charges on Kaufman Smith versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith are suing magazine publisher David Rodriguez because he used their photos in his magazine but never paid them.
You two ladies posed for some photographs that were in the defendant's magazine. You claim that he promised to pay you. He didn't. Is that what this case is about?
Yes, it is.
Well, who's going to speak first?
I would like to.
What's your name?
Jennifer Kaufman.
Okay.
We met Dave through some mutual friends, and we met at a local restaurant. And we had discussed, he said he was going to do some catalog work and a lot of different stuff, and we were excited for him, and we had discussed doing some pictures for him. And so...
He wanted to set up a photo shoot for the bathing suit company.
For the bathing suit company.
Yeah.
And we went, he set up the photo shoot. Well, we didn't make the first one. And at the restaurant, he said, we'll have to sign a release if we like your pictures, and we'll go from there.
The photographer then called us and insisted that we come on Father's Day and do this. And they said if they decide to publish our pictures, then we will then sit down and talk about a contract and be compensated for our work. Then some girls came up to us and said, yeah, we saw your picture in the San Antonio Sports Magazine. We were like, what? And we never signed anything. May I also add there's pictures floating around the internet.
So what you're telling me is you didn't have a contract with him?
We were supposed to, if the pictures were
If
to
they
be
liked the
published,
pictures, they didn't, yeah.
then we would sit down and talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
We're entertainers.
And I
What
do
kind of
stand-up comedy.
entertainers?
We're both topless entertainers, and I do stand-up comedy.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts. So you're going to do these pictures, right, for some sort of compensation if the pictures were published. But you hadn't discussed the compensation with him.
If they decided to use our pictures, then that's what we were to discuss.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Did you ever hear speak when spoken to? Sit down. I'm not ready for witnesses yet.
Okay.
Good. So you hadn't had an amount of money that you agreed on, even if they used your pictures.
Well, we said to them, we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work, and it's a very hard lesson. We did learn a lesson from this.
Good. So what are you here for?
To be compensated for.
Be compensated for the work that was done.
And
well, how much do you think? How much do you think you should be compensated?
$750 for each job.
And how many jobs did you do?
2.
You each did 2?
The first job we did was for a clothesline. It was runway modeling for the other photographer.
Well, don't tell me about the other photographer. You're talking about this. You're talking about this swimsuit issue, right?
Right. Yes.
So you think you should be compensated $750 a piece? That's $1,500, right? What about $500 a piece for the day? No, I'm just asking. What about $500?
May I say I have no animosity toward Dave. It has nothing to do with. It's just it's about work. It's about his job that we don't. We're not compensated for. We trusted in his word, and that's what was understood.
Well, you know, if that was the case, if she had no animosity toward me, she called my advertisers trying to say that I was a liar. I mean, I go on my word.
Never said that.
I don't have any proof to show you, but my clients call me and say, you know, we have 2 girls calling trying to get our insurance company to pay them money. And this is one of my clients, I can't say who they are, and they said, why were they calling me? I have nothing to do with your
Mr. Rodriguez,
yes.
You took pictures of them, correct?
I didn't. A
photographer did. For your magazine?
Yes.
And you make money from this magazine from selling advertising space,
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
So it would seem to me that if you sold advertising space, and this is that way you make your living, then you compensate the people who work for you. So you use their pictures.
Yes.
And how did you compensate them?
Okay, this is the deal.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Not here's the deal.
Okay.
You use their pictures in a product that you made from which you make a living from selling advertising.
Yes.
And my question to you is, How did you compensate them?
I told them they would get trade, that they would get a swimsuit. The company said they would provide each girl a swimsuit.
Why would we want...
Just put your hand down.
For their services, for posting in the magazine.
Are you kidding me or what?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And I'm not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody to model on my magazine.
Not what you do, it's who you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith say magazine publisher David Rodriguez published their photos without paying them. David claims they agreed to let him use the photos for free.
Did you give him the swimsuit?
Well,
not well.
Yes, one of them has a swimsuit.
The one that they were wearing
One
that
of them,
day?
yes.
The one that they were wearing that day?
Yes.
Well, you know, you can't go out and sell those things again. I mean, you can't go out and sell them once you use it.
Exactly.
You know, once you use it,
Yes,
you bought it.
exactly.
So you're telling me, Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
you expect me to believe, sir, that you got all the free talent to make your magazine, and in exchange for that, they were supposed to get a bathing suit?
Yes.
I don't usually ask these questions because it's not a good idea. Lawyers should never do that. Why would you think that they would do that?
This is the reason why.
I'm waiting.
Every year, I have an annual swimsuit issue. I get tons of photographs from women who want to be in the swimsuit issue. It's one of my biggest issues of the year. I don't pay one model to be in my swimsuit issue, not one. Out of all the models that I use, I have 13 models. I have these 2 girls saying they want to get paid. 2 girls out of 13 models. Does that make any sense there?
Can I see the magazine, please?
Well, we don't know what they discussed with them, but what we discussed with him is totally different.
Well, I have
No,
witnesses.
let me tell you something. You didn't really discuss anything with him, because when you discuss something with him, then you make a price. I could just as easily say to you, listen, ladies, you didn't discuss with him what the price was for your work that day, which is what you're supposed to do. So I believe that you should be compensated. Looks to me like you had a pretty good time. $50 seems like a nice amount of money. I mean, I could say that to you. You're supposed to be smarter. I mean, if this is your business, if you're in the entertainment business, you're supposed to use your noodles.
But the fact of the matter is, too, that they contacted me. Here's the deal here. She called me wanting to be in my swimsuit issue. So I said I would meet with them. I met with them right on the table. Think of it. I have all these models. I mean, I have real models. I mean, I could have, if I was going to pay anybody, I'm going to hire a modeling agency. I'm not going to get...
Do real models not get paid?
Well, let me ask you
I'm
this.
not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody
First
to
of all,
model on a
stripper's
magazine.
not what you do, it's who you are.
Okay, well...
Let me ask you this question, sir. They took a lot of photographs of these young ladies, right? Where are the photographs that they took of these young ladies?
The photographer has them. They are his pictures.
Around the internet.
Some of them you have.
Yes.
Because you clearly went through some of them.
Sure,
and-
to edit it and go through it and decide which ones were the best, yes.
Well, let us assume for the moment that there was some sort of a misunderstanding. And in addition to being compensated by getting a swimsuit, and quite frankly, ladies, I can understand why ladies who are in the entertainment field would like to have the kind of exposure that this magazine, I mean, it looks like a perfectly nice magazine. It's got a picture of nice young ladies in bathing suits and very athletic-looking young men. I mean, there's nothing untoward about these pictures. Why you might want to have your picture in this kind of magazine, right? I assume you like that idea.
Yeah, if you like
Right?
it.
I assume you like that idea.
Sure.
Okay. And the money wasn't really that important to you, because if it was that important to you and if it was your business, you would have made a price with him and you would have entered into a written contract with him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't take much stock in the fact that there was some sort of a breach of contract. But Mr. Rodriguez,
Well, can I say something? Okay.
I'm not going to take any longer with this case than it's worth. It's not worth a lot, sir. I've already told them that they're not getting $3,000, they're not getting $1,500 because you didn't have a contract price, and I don't intend to make a contract now when there was none before.
But do I get anything for the models that now, since they ruined it with the swimsuit issue, they do not want to give the models that I owe swimsuits to? Now I have to, what do I do now? What do I do now?
Listen, what am I, your mother? What am I, your mother? You got a countersuit here? You have a countersuit here?
Well, I didn't. There was not time.
That time, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, you're a businessman. I'm not your mother. I don't intend to solve all your problems, sir, and stop chewing gum in my courtroom. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes.
You have some pictures of them that I think that they would probably like to have.
Yes.
Wouldn't you like to have the photographs?
Yes, we would.
That would be very nice. At least they could
Sure,
put that in their portfolio, right?
Well, since the photographer's pictures,
I'm talking about the ones,
the ones
you
I have. Yes, yes. Gladly, I'd give them to him.
Perfect. By tomorrow. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 306 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Lewis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Thomas, your lawsuit alleges that the defendant filed false allegations against you of sexual harassment, causing you, at least temporarily, to lose your job and suffer all kinds of emotional trauma and stress and embarrassment.
Yes.
Did you work together in the same office?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me how you knew her.
We cordially met in the lobby area, and
In the lobby of a building where you both worked?
yes,
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm in the security field.
So you were a security officer.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And, from time to time we spoke, and then every now and then we went to lunch, socialized and talked everything. And everything was pretty cool. There was a situation.
There came a time when you alleged that you lent money to the defendant.
Yes.
And that precipitated her making these allegations against you.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that, sir.
Okay. Well, as I said, she was having some problems. And she asked my assistance as far as loaning her some money for a motel that she had wanted to stay in to relocate from the current place she was at. And so, I went and I assisted her in that matter. She stayed there for a couple of weeks.
How much money did you actually loan her?
Well, it wasn't a direct cash flow. I utilized a credit card, so I would be able to keep a record in the future.
How much?
$250.
Okay. $250.
Yes, $250.88.
Okay, so you helped her out with the motel from moving from one place to another.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Then at that time her apartment was ready, and she again asked my assistance to help her relocate to the apartment. Well, she didn't have the funds required to rent out the truck, so she asked if I could utilize my credit to rent the truck out, and then once we've completed the move, she would reimburse me of the initial truck use funds.
And how much was that altogether?
Altogether, that was $57.24 for the truck and $6.25 for gas to refuel the truck.
Now, did she pay you back any of this money?
No.
So there came a time when you started to ask her for the money.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Okay, the disagreement arose around the time when we were trying to negotiate a way to return the truck. Well, apparently she was agitated because I didn't want to loan her my credit card and so she can return the truck and then return the credit card back to me. So that pretty much fueled the disagreement. Well, to pretty much separate myself, I said, well, go ahead, return the money that you owed me. This is the money that you owed me, and we'll just go our separate ways. She responded in a threatful manner, basically stating that, if you don't leave me alone, you're going to regret that you ever met me. So I left it alone Sunday, and Monday morning I called her again, once again trying to see if we can't negotiate this in a mature manner. She wouldn't speak to me, so what I did is I conjured up a letter to her, and just basically broke down everything that she had owed me.
Okay, so you sent her a letter.
Yes.
When did she make these allegations against you of sexual harassment?
I sent the letter to her Monday, and the allegations were brought to my attention that Thursday.
Okay. To make a long story short,
Yes.
the charges were subsequently all dismissed.
Yes.
But you had to be transferred to a different location. You took a decrease in pay according to your papers. Is that
Yes,
right?
what had happened is that they had pretty much put me in rover status, where I worked at certain assignments for the going price that they were
So
paying
you earned
officers.
less, Mr.
Yes.
Thomas. You earned less. But you're suing her for $5,000, clearly much more than this. And the reason you're suing her for $5,000 is because you say she wrongfully made these accusations against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Let me hear from you.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, we did work in the same building. When I met John, I told him from the beginning that I'm not looking for anyone. Okay, I moved out here from another state. I came out in January. I secured a job in February. Then we met, I think, in March. He would come up to me, give me candy, walk with me while I was on break, and I told him strictly that I just wanted a platonic friendship and nothing more. John continued to, everywhere I was, he seemed to automatically show up. He was a friend to me. You know, we went out a couple times to the movies. I never asked John for any help of any type of monetary source because I make 3 times more money than he makes, okay? I never asked John for any money. He insisted that he knew where I was staying at a motel downtown. I was happy with that. I knew I was going to stay there until I secured an apartment, which is what I did. But the reason he wanted me to move because he did not have access to me the way that he wanted access to me, because it was a security building and there was no visitors allowed in the building. So he suggested to me that I move to another motel in Culver City.
This is the first hotel that you were in?
This is the first hotel that I was at. This is the hotel I planned to stay at until I found my apartment. He knew I was looking for an apartment. He knew I was looking for a car. He went around and got numbers for apartments. Oh, you should move here. He even went to his complex, suggested I go there, and I decided the same day not to move there because he was...
Stop for a second.
Okay.
Sound like a very intelligent, together lady. Right? And you just told me that you were really happy with where you were staying, and you were going to stay there until you found a permanent apartment.
Right.
But you moved.
Right.
Into a different motel.
Right.
One that he was happier with.
Right. I moved.
Why?
Because it was closer to my job. Right now, I had an hour-and-a-half commute from downtown to Westwood.
So?
And I decided to take his offer up because it was nicer, it was closer to my job.
Fine.
Okay.
And he laid out some money for you.
No, he did not. I was paying a certain weekly amount of rent by the week where I was. I had that money. Only thing he had to put with the money was another $40.
Whether it was $40 or 40 pennies.
Okay.
According to him, it was $250.88. According to you, it was $40. You just told me that you earned 3 times as much money as he did. Why in the world would you take $40 from him? Why?
Because I did not have the money at the time. I was between pay periods.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I have a greeting card from her, and the title says, "To the man of my dreams."
Once I dreamed of someone special. Now I know that I was dreaming of you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Thomas says his former friend Denise Lewis falsely accused him of sexual harassment. Denise says John is angry because their friendship never turned into romance.
Now, when did you make this report of sexual harassment?
After the week after I moved into my apartment.
Why?
Because he tried to force himself on me after we moved the refrigerator and the bedroom furniture into my apartment.
Well, tell me about that, madam.
Okay, after the things were moved into the apartment, he laid down on we put everything in the living room because I had to paint the bedroom. He laid down on the mattress and he called me in there and he threw me down on the mattress and started making sexual moves on me. And it took me about a couple minutes to push him off of me, and I asked him to leave.
And he left?
After some screaming and yelling, and yes, he did.
What kind of screaming and yelling?
I was screaming to get out of my apartment, that you don't live here.
And he left?
after some time, and he left when he got ready to leave.
So that's when you filed a complaint of sexual harassment against him.
Not only for that reason, was because the Saturday morning when he was supposed to come back and get the truck, I asked him to leave. We had an argument. I asked him to leave.
So you still have the truck?
The truck is still there. He has the keys to the truck.
Okay. So he said, so he had his car and he wanted you to help him take the truck back.
Right.
And what happened then?
I didn't open the door for him.
Why?
Because I was upset with him because of what he had tried to do. Okay, he never came to me and asked me to try and work things out, to try and say, okay, I owe you this money, let's try and make some type of arrangements. The next thing I knew, he had left a letter on the counter of where I work, and it was a bill for how much he assumed that I owe him.
So tell me when you made this allegation of sexual harassment, after you got the bill?
No, I made it like a few days later because he was calling and harassing me at work.
He was
for like
calling and asking you for what?
He was calling, he said he wanted to get together and talk. And I said, I don't want anything else to do with you because of your behavior, because you have been harassing me.
When did you make that statement to him?
I made it on Monday. And I asked him not to call me again, and that I will pay him his money.
So did you pay him the money?
No, I did not. Because
Why?
Because he kept harassing me.
Just a minute, why didn't you pay him the money? Maybe if you paid him the money, he would stop harassing you. Maybe if you paid him the bill, he would feel as if he wasn't so used.
Yeah.
And then he would leave you alone.
Yeah, well, maybe if he had come to me as an adult and not someone threatening me with gang violence and I'm going to get the Bloods to kill you and this and that, maybe if would have come to me in an appropriate manner, I would have been more than happy to settle with him, just like I tried to call him 2 weeks ago. And I asked him, why did you file this lawsuit against me? And I said, can we come to some kind of agreement because I want this to go away? And his comment was, after several moments of silence, at 27 years old, was, you started it.
Well, Miss Lewis, you started it. Let me tell you something. I'm a woman, and I take allegations of sexual harassment in the workplace very seriously. But I resent it when women use allegations of sexual harassment as one-upmanship. And I'm telling you right now, the story that's coming through my head is an older lady with a lot more experience has a guy 5, 6 years younger than she is, who is clearly smitten with her. And what's coming out of her mouth is, no, no, yes, yes. No, no, yes, yes.
No.
You let him move you into another apartment? You're a smart lady. All you had to do was say, I'm happy where I am, John. I don't mind having coffee with you when we're here. You seem like a nice young man, but, you know, this is not a romantic thing. So you let him help you out once. And instead of doing the nice thing, the right thing, by totally cutting him off so that you fair to him, you're not playing mind games with his head. You call him again when you need help. So he's saying to himself, she really likes me. I don't care what she says. She's letting me rent a truck with her and move her stuff into her apartment and help her place the furniture where it is. So clearly, she may be saying no, no, but her eyes are saying yes, yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She strategically planned it to where I lost out on a promotion. I lost out on a raise.
Oh,
and you know,
from $5 to $7. Wow.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Security guard John Thomas is suing Denise Lewis for defamation after she accused him of sexual harassment.
You're in your apartment. The furniture and the refrigerator are all set. Then you want no part of him. Well, he doesn't know that, so then he calls you and says, now I feel used, now I want my money. Your response was to file allegations of sexual harassment against him. I don't hear any sexual harassment, madam. He moved you into your apartment. He thought you were encouraging him. He left when you told him to leave. You may say you yelled and screamed, but I don't believe that there was any kind of attempted rape there. I don't believe that for 1 second. And your response was to try to injure him in his profession, which was a security guard. That's not fair.
Just because two people are friends does not mean that, okay, just because one party wants to go forward with a relationship and the other doesn't, that's not, I don't think that's encouraging.
Miss Lewis, you know that he wants romance and you don't. You don't use him.
He took advantage of me.
Oh, baloney.
He did. He knew that I lived out here by myself.
Nobody takes advantage of you, madam. I've known you for 5 minutes, and I can tell you right now, nobody takes advantage of you if you don't want that to happen. You took advantage of him. And the right thing to do was to let him know unequivocally from the beginning, this is not going anywhere, and not do anything to encourage him. Nothing to encourage him. And what you did was encourage him by continuing to allow him into your life. You have something you want me to hear? Is that why you brought that?
Yes, due to her statement, she says that she never made any attempt to encourage me or whatnot. Here I have a greeting card from her, dated April 4th, and the title says, "To the man of my dreams."
Can I see it?
So,
just a minute. Show this to the defendant and tell her if that signature looks familiar to her.
Yes, it does. Uh-huh. This card was not intended for him.
Well, why don't you tell me how you got this card, sir?
She gave me the card around that time. This was the envelope that she gave it to me in.
Can I see it, please? Why don't you try to explain that to me, Miss Lewis? How did he come into possession of a card that wasn't meant for him? Why don't you try to tell me that?
He took it out of my briefcase when he was giving me a ride to work. That card was not intended for him.
Who was it intended for?
Someone else.
Someone else who also moved furniture?
No.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Once I dreamed of someone special, now I know that I was dreaming of you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I have never been interested in him. You know, I'm not interested in overweight men.
You used him, Miss Lewis. And then in order to get rid of him, you filed a complaint against him for sexual harassment. Oh, yes, that's exactly what you did. And you injured him. You injured him in his job. You had him moved from his job. He suffered embarrassment. He suffered humiliation. And at least something else that I find equally as disturbing is we have finally reached a point in this country, at the end of this century, where we do not permit people of either sex to be sexually harassed in their workplace. And unfortunately, it's because of ladies like you that people look at these lawsuits and wonder if they are all real. That diminishes the real allegations of sexual abuse and of sexual harassment in the workplace. It's not supposed to be used as a hammer to solve all the problems that you have. It's supposed to be used sparingly and when it's true.
You don't know that it's not true?
Oh, I know that it's not true, madam. I know that you used him.
That's not true.
You used him. You knew he was smitten with you. You used him. And when you were finished with him and he wouldn't leave you alone, in order to get rid of him so that you didn't have to look at him anymore, you filed an allegation of sexual harassment against him that was ultimately investigated and dismissed because you have been reinstated, correct?
And it was not the first of its kind.
I haven't asked you about your history either. Right? Whether this is a modus operandi for you. We understand each other, Miss Lewis?
Your Honor, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chadez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One $4,000 filed by
You. The other $500
Yes.
filed by you. And you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And they...
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus,
Yeah.
and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you
When
get out
when she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right
This is
here.
my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't stand and listen to people laugh.
Just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when to create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand. As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, get in the car now. At that point, she looked at me, eye contact, a bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay, bottles, plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered
Correct.
on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have
of the
pictures and
vehicle.
bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
Mm-hmm. When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down,
Well,
and then when,
a
okay,
deposit-
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay.
Did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours.
Mm-hmm.
So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You, because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party
got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
So I'm responsible for everyone on the bus.
Every single person.
On the bus and off. Everyone who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You hired the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of it if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
he had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's no, you.
No, I
not
hope he
them.
would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well, then he should have been more selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. I'll get back to your record, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later, on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes,
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
she was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I asked you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Sure is. So, Judge...
Hello mọi người nhé, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với channel tôi vẽ tranh trên kênh của mình. Và hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu bức tranh, đó chính là bức tranh về hình ảnh nhân vật Doraemon đang ngồi cùng với chú mèo. Và chúng ta sẽ tô màu bức tranh này của mình nhé các bạn. Mình sẽ tô màu xanh riêng cho phần người của chú Doraemon này nhé. Tiếp theo mình sẽ tô màu đỏ ở phần mũi nha. Tiếp theo phần tay, phần chân mình sẽ tô màu nâu nha các bạn. Mình tô màu vàng ở chú mèo nhé. Tiếp theo mình sẽ tô đến hình trái tim. Hình trái tim mình sẽ tô màu tím nhé. Và video mình đã hướng dẫn cho các bạn cách tô màu về nhân vật Doraemon của mình đã hoàn thành xong. Chúng ta có thể tham khảo cho cái mẫu tô màu bức tranh này của mình nhé. Rất là xinh, và video tô màu nhân vật Doraemon này của mình cũng sẽ kết thúc ở đây. Các bạn theo dõi video, hãy nhớ like, share và đăng ký kênh để tiếp tục theo dõi thêm được nhiều video tô màu nữa mà mình sẽ đăng tải trên kênh YouTube nhé. Bye các bạn.
Have to be a living. You walk in, you see the whole apartment plus the washer and dryer, which we love to see, and there's also some storage as soon as you walk in, and then you've got the bathroom classic layout. I kind of really like how there's a very big mirror as you walk through the apartment. It opens up into the kitchen SL living space, which just feels nice and open. It has really nice high ceiling. The kitchen to me was perfect, obviously has the island. And it's a really nice sized island where you can probably have around like 3, if not for people sitting on the other side the kitchen. Had really nice new finish, a full-sized fridge, which guys, I have never in my life have lived in an apartment that has a full-sized fridge. And as you can see, there's plenty of storage, which in the kitchen for someone that loves cooking is needed. And then moving into the living space, as you can see, the ceiling is a little bit higher in the living room compared to the kitchen.